follow along?
I can too, so
Yeah.
it's 9:30, why don't we call to order the agenda workshop for February 21st.
Okay. Thank you and welcome everyone. We'll jump right into it, and C1 goes directly to the minutes for our workshops for last meeting and our regular meeting minutes for one. Anybody have any questions? You can stop me on each question. Number 2 is C2 is an amendment for a performance matter contract. Currently, when the district purchased Performance Matters, there was 2 areas that were not purchased. One of the areas being an early warning system, in the sense that allowed teachers, district, school-based staff, district staff to really drill down to identify opportunities to look at 3 areas of concern of a student, to look at early warning indicators such as attendance, behavior, and academics, and triangulate that data to identify kids that have shown undesired behaviors in those 3 areas. And this is an opportunity for us to bring this on board in Performance Matters so that we can really start identifying cohorts and nurturing groups within our school system, so that we really have to be able to have laser-like focus on kids who need additional assistance in those 3 areas. In addition, there's also, I know that I spoke last time about how we created somewhat of a graduation tracker for all of our senior high schools. However, the graduation tracker that we built upon my arrival was just an aggregate data to look at our adjusted cohort, all the students in our current cohort, denominator, numerators, looking at kids who are college ready, not college ready, kids for GPA, kids who have sufficient credits. That's just an aggregate for us to look at on a bi-weekly basis. And what this amendment does allows us not only to get to obtain the early warning indicator systems, but also the graduation tracker feature allows our guidance counselors, school counselors, administrators to go deep, and teachers to go deeper to identify kids at a click of a button. And right now we have the school counselors that are really doing everything by longhand. They're importing it into an Excel, tracking it, and working hard to identify kids who are on track or not on track. And this allows us to do a click of a button to have that data analysis immediately ready for us. This is a $27,000 add to this amendment. This is money already under this umbrella, under this division with Performance Matters. We have some additional funding. So we want to be able to take that funding and purchase the early warning systems and also the grad tracker now, which is going to be 2 features that are really available for administrators and our teachers, so they can drill down deeper for our concerns, for our students who have most concerns within our school system.
Question.
Yep.
Is that capital dollars?
Are we using capital dollars for this?
It was some Stat 10 money that we had left over, we over budgeted.
I have a number of questions.
Yep, sure.
My first question is, does Focus not provide us, our student management system Focus not provide us this information?
It does individually. So you can go and you can run analysis on attendance. You can run analysis on behaviors, and you can run an analysis on academics. The problem is being able to triangulate all those data sets together and then formulate a grouping of kids who hit all of those pockets and are showing undesired behaviors. So we can do it. It's just taking teachers a long time to do it, to triangulate it. And this is just a click of a button for them to really say, hey, you know what, Addison Davis really needs assistance in remediation and literacy. He's also a kid that's not attending, and he's also has some behavior problems. So let's go ahead and focus on that student and provide small group instruction, and also work with him and the guidance counselor and parents to attendance and also behaviors, and it's right there.
Okay. And then, is this the best tool for it?
Absolutely. I've used it.
So Performance Matters is the best tool?
Well, right now we're already using Performance Matters. It's a tool we're using internally for certain measures, identifiers for kids and information, and I believe this goes beautifully along with what we're trying to accomplish in the school district with our partnership.
What is the term of our agreement with Performance Matters?
How long?
We're currently in the first of a 3-year contract.
This is the first year.
Yeah.
Last year was the first year, or this school
The
year?
current school year was the
So
first.
when does
it's gonna
this
go
add
through
on to it?
Immediately.
But does it extend the
Yes,
contract?
we will extend.
So it adds how much to our?
$27,000.
No.
No, come on, terms.
Does
No,
it
this is.
extend the life of the contract?
It's throughout the life of the contract.
Yeah, still 3-year contract,
It
so
is still
we're not
free.
going,
It will
Not extended
yeah.
It will not
contract.
change the original
Yeah,
contract.
we're not
Just amend
going
it.
to 4 or 5 years. This is just
I'm sorry.
to add different features to it. And to be transparent, this should have been purchased upfront with it.
And so you suspended Performance Matters testing from January on. Are we going to do that again next year, or are we gonna?
We'll have a different number of battery of assessments. We're in the process of identifying, probably the next month and a half, identifying our calendar for assessments, what we will assess on, but we'll upload all this information into Performance Matters, so it'll be somewhat of our warehouse hub for data.
Okay.
Data interaction for our teachers and staff.
And
One thing about Performance Matters, it's not just a testing platform, that's one part they have,
Which
but
I use.
the data analysis side, which is really what they're excellent at, gives you a lot of information with very few clicks of a button. And that's how this will add to what we are doing.
And so it wasn't until last year that parents could even see Performance Matters testing information in their students' focus.
Correct, we added that
Pages.
last year.
Will they be able to see the information from this as well?
Well, there's a new parent portal that Performance Matters unveiled at their National Users Conference. So there's a parent-student portal that they're going to be adding for the next school year. The early warning system is not something that parents will see. The grad tracker information is already there. They can already see their GPAs and their courses and their grades currently.
Right.
And that's what it's pulling from.
But, so if we do a new parent portal with Performance Matters, will that interface with Focus?
The information we send to Performance Matters comes from Focus nightly. There's a nightly upload. An upload from everything that.
Right,
from
but you said
attendance
there's a
to
parent
everything
portal,
else.
so.
But the parents will be able to log into Performance Matters to see not only their students' scores, which is all they see now because we upload it to Focus. When the parent portal with Performance Matters, it actually shows standards and where students are lacking in different areas, so the parents will be more informed of how to help their kids at home.
So all this is doing is, they will not be able to see this flag. This flag is for our internal practice to be able to help students better.
Are there any other questions?
Okay. All right. Next one is personnel consent agenda. Mr. Brodsky, before I get into this is where the job description for academy coaches.
Correct.
So this is one of the things I wanted to bring up is the job description for academy coach. I don't know if it was uploaded, so I'll pass it out to make sure everybody has it. Pass this down.
Is it on the,
It should be uploaded, yes ma'am. I just wanted to make sure everybody had it.
excuse me, let the record reflect that Ms. Bull is not here today. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're right, no worries.
This is on the personnel
Yes, ma'am.
consent agenda, then this has to be attached.
Okay, this is attached in here, I just wanted to
It
make
is.
sure everybody had it. Yes, ma'am. This is one of the big items that I put in here for job descriptions. We currently have academy coaches, and as we transition to 17, 18, where my recommendation is for us to move away from wall to wall. And but in doing this, I do believe there's a lot of hard work that's been taking place with academy coaches. But I believe that we can take this job description and make it more, in the sense that not only will these individuals help continue to focus on college and career ready, getting our kids with CTE courses and industry certification, but this new job description allows us, the job title, allows them to transition to preparing kids to be somewhat college ready. That means they're able to look at tracking cohorts of kids, looking at their GPAs, looking at their overall credits to make sure that they're on track, looking at their acceleration for college readiness, and being able to do a dual part in the sense of focus on preparing kids to be college and career ready, but at the same time making sure that they're in their academy and following their individual pathway.
Any questions?
I fully support that, and I have no issue with that. I've attended several of the 8th grade
Yep.
things. And one concern that parents have raised to me in a number of different schools, so it's not
Yep.
just one school specific, is that we've lost visibility to the pathways for some of the industry certifications that a kid that's going to college anyway would still may want to have. So
Sure.
for instance, one of the Embry-Riddle programs with the aeronautical, you can see the first class to take. I forget what it's called, aerospace something, but you can't see the pathway
Sure.
that if you take these things by the time you're a senior, these 4 classes, which are just their electives, it's not gonna take away, but you can't see the certification that the student would get
Sure.
from the parent perspective.
Yep.
They've lost that.
Yep. we do.
So in that little booklet, I
Yeah.
guess in the past it had more pathways.
Right. So,
Not necessarily an academy, just a pathway.
Right, so the pathway should stay, will remain the same for 17-18, so we're not selectively abandoning any pathways. What we're doing is just moving to anchor academies, and that just allows us to work on becoming national models and to celebrate what we do well, and to highlight that and to have true pathways to protect those pathways along with our acceleration programs in every school. Moving forward, I have a document that I think I left with all this other stuff I brought, but I'll show you the breakdown between what academies were offered in 16-17 and what we have projected to offer in 17-18. And to be honest with you, in the sense of what the staff has done a phenomenal job, because the vision was to go wall-to-wall academies, but let's be honest, they were developing academies just to develop them, and they were putting pathways into it just to make it fit. And I don't believe that's right by kids, and I don't think that's fair to teachers, and I don't think that's fair to the organization. So what we're going to do is we've met with multiple principals multiple times. We've met with their academy coaches, we've met with CTE staff in the chief of secondary education in order to identify anchor academies, enrollment, GPA, number of industry certifications being accomplished, and identify what anchor academies could be moving forward for 17-18. And we also made sure that every school has an acceleration program, whether it be collegiate high school, IB, ACE, so they can really have an anchor in reference to having an enriched pathway for kids.
Not so.
For
Keystone does not have that.
Keystone College, what are we looking for?
The only thing that they offer is dual enrollment, and you
Yeah.
cannot take dual enrollment below 11th grade.
Right.
Now, there was one AP class added, a 9th grade AP
Yeah.
class, so you could kind of fill in that way
Right.
if you had a university that took
Sure.
that class.
So I think we're trying to move, or we're going to try to look at having a collegiate high school model there. But we're trying desperately to get in to see the provider so that we can make that partnership. But that's something that we want to make sure. We've already transitioned that for next year for Middleburg, we'll have it.
Right.
And I've messaged that to everyone, that's the same thing, so that everyone has it, we'll work at Keystone.
I have a copy of the job description.
Sure. There you go.
Here's
This
one
one.
extra. Yeah, I got it.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How does this job description fit with our guidance counselors? Because I was of the understanding that the guidance counselors track college readiness and get students
Yeah.
ready for scholarships
Sure.
and college admits and all
Yeah.
that. So will they be
Alleviate
taking
this
some of
process,
that?
yeah, to be able to actually get in classrooms and teach kids and work with kids. And I think this is they'll love this, so they can actually do the work that they signed up to do and their certificate to do. So right now, they spend a lot of time with paperwork and tracking kids to get them prepared for graduation. And this allows another staff member to take on some of that work with administration, so they can really start helping kids in every facet they need in the system.
Okay, so we'll see our guidance counselors have more of a shift towards classroom instruction,
Especially at the senior level.
like behavioral
Yeah.
psychological.
Well, I'd say
training.
that, yes ma'am, especially at junior and senior level, starting preparing kids.
Okay.
I had some other questions on the personnel consent
Yep.
agenda.
Sure.
First, the school food service manager intern, I couldn't find an allocation for that. And I don't know if it's an old allocation that was just never filled until now, but I didn't see one, so I wasn't sure about that.
Mr. Brodsky.
I'd have to go back and
Yeah.
research that for you.
Okay. And then the reason that I'm asking is because actually I didn't know what a school food service manager intern was. And then I went and looked at the job description,
Yeah.
and then I was trying to figure out what the cost would be, even if it's paid through federal dollars. And the salary schedule that we're working with, and this has been brought up at different times with CCEA and things, is that our salary schedule is from 15-16, that those
Okay.
jobs go to. So I guess we're still paying on that salary schedule, but I wasn't sure if that was,
Yeah, I'll look into it. I thought this was a position that we had open and we were trying to bring someone in to help and assist.
okay. Then the only other question I had was there were a number of supplements on there, but they all were listed as resignations. and I found that was odd.
The first sheet was appointments, and then the second sheet was
Yeah,
resignation.
so sometimes a person will sign up for a supplement at the beginning of the year, and when it comes to track season, they decide they no longer want to coach track, or they no longer want to coach something. And so there is a normal process by which people resign and people get appointed to supplements throughout the year.
Because there were 2 of them on there that I know are coaching, and they were listed as resignations.
Okay, I could
So I just
research
wasn't
those
sure
two
about,
for you.
it just was odd to me. I've never seen that many resignations. I've seen the appointments, but
Do you have the names specifically?
yeah, I can get those too.
I had a question.
Yep.
Under administrative actions and appointments, this is a position that I wasn't familiar with, so if you could just let me, like, where it says the site is FNS, what is that abbreviation for?
That's the food
That's the
service.
food service.
That's what we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yep.
Ms. Condon was talking about.
I'll find out what
Any
school.
other questions? And you'll check into
Yeah, I'll find out what
the
school, who
allocation.
need allocation. I believe it's a vacant position, we're trying to get someone in, but I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, C4 is just acknowledgement of Teacher Appreciation Week in Clay County. Just, this will be high, we'll highlight this and then it comes with a proclamation as well. And this is scheduled to be May 7th through May 13th. The next one, C5, is Administrative Professional Week, which is going to be April 23rd through 29th, and it's usually observed on the 26th. This is a proclamation as well. C6 is CTE overnight in-state field trips. This is where we have a number of schools that will be going to a number of places in order to either compete or attend opportunities for educational intellectual gain through their individual pathway within their school. Most of these are usually FFA, and taking them on their leadership, and they do a great job in this county. I learned that quickly.
And CT does a good job of getting
Yep.
those in on time to us.
They
I
absolutely,
appreciate that they always do that.
they work hard. It's a good department. C7 is a resolution with St. John's River State College, and this resolution is a partnership with Clay County School District in the sense that we are acknowledging them as a partner in our work with CTE. And this is going to, they wanted to be acknowledged through this resolution, and this will allow them to seek DOE dollars to help them become a post-secondary CTE and to continue to grow their program, and for us to continue to have a filter and pipeline to their educational offerings from a post-secondary perspective. Any questions on this one? C8 is a Berry University affiliation agreement. This is where we want to have this agreement where we can allow a student to come and do a practicum with a teacher. This is for occupational therapist assistants. This is a great opportunity for us to have an intern at no cost to the district, intern to work with us, work with our students. And this could really be a part for success in management to potentially hire this individual as positions come open within our county. C9 is an advertisement. By state statute, we are to advertise 30 days in advance any district adoption. And in CTE, there's a number of classes that we are seeking to advertise for the adoption of books. And you can see there's 11 courses that we're seeking to potentially adopt. C10. C10 is the same thing. This is an economics and financial literacy adoption. This is a 12th grade class that is mandated that students take. We see there are potential holes in the current curriculum that we have with the economics and financial literacy. So this allows us to look at a curriculum and adopt text that fills these gaps and allows us to continue to expose this type of curriculi to our students in the 12th grade.
I didn't see a specific curriculum attached to this, but like in the other one, we had Pearson or whoever the
Yeah.
publisher was. There wasn't a specific book attached to this one. I thought maybe this was just a new course that we were adding, and that's what we're approving. Or are we approving curriculum with this?
No, this is just looking at the part where we're open it for approval of publishing for an advertisement through Play Today, where we're going to be vetting new economics and financial
We
literacy.
don't have the-
Yeah, we don't have it yet.
Yes, I have a question. I know that there was talk at the state level about separating those two courses and having financial literacy be its own semester course. So is this something, whatever we adopt, would that go with, I'm assuming it'll be a ninth grade course,
Yeah.
would that go with them or would that stay with the econ?
So, we haven't had word of the state whether or not they're actually gonna separate it. So, you know, until then, we have to move as this is collectively merged together. So, in the next, hopefully when it gets done in the next 30 days, we can reach out to, DOE to see if there's aspirations to split it, but, right now, there's nothing been made in
Are we taking a
concrete.
position on that or just?
Right now, I think we're gonna keep it collective in the 12th grade and allow it to continue our progression.
It's 109 standards.
It's a lot, it's a lot.
We
It's a
know
good course,
that,
it's a
didn't
good
we?
course though, kids should take this course.
Any other questions?
Next one is student travel. We have six schools going on travel. This is from girls weightlifting to robotics to students going to ROC competitions. Most of them, majority of them are going to be after the board meeting, which is great. I do believe we have one or two competitions that have already went, like girls weightlifting championship with Middleburg Senior High School. But everything else has been calculated, and it's just flag football teams, robotic competitions, and those types of things moving forward for field trips.
Have we gotten any clarity on what the policy is, and are we approving these, and what drives them to be brought to us?
Yeah, it's my understanding everything that's out of county is in policy is out of county and out of state needs to come to the board. So, what's that?
And overnight.
Yeah, and overnight. So we're making that's in our policy. So we're continuing for us to funnel it through me and to funnel it through you as well.
Okay, because
As
my
a board.
question comes up when I was reading the form. They're not all obviously filled out in similar
Yeah, we're working.
completeness. And one statement kind of caught my eye and was a little bit of a flag, and that is on number 6, where it says, if using private vehicles, list drivers you wish to designate as agents of the board and attach the necessary agent of the board form. And I know that has to have something to do with insurance and
Yeah,
how these
liability.
things are covered. And one of the forms said TBD. And that was, and it also says and attach the necessary form, and we never see the attachments, which I don't necessarily
Sure.
need to see all that
Right.
information. And I'm assuming, but maybe wrongly, that somebody goes back and makes sure all of this information is brought in, and if somebody puts TBD,
Yeah.
that it's filled in. Because at the end of the day, they're acting on our behalf,
Absolutely.
and I think that's a liability.
So I'll show you if you the old document had just teacher, principal, and district personnel signed. And we put in a new layer of, we have teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, and then superintendent. So now everything's being vetted from elementary level from Dr. Stallman. And then prior to it comes to me, and then Mr. Connor is doing everything on a secondary level. So we're trying to look at every aspects of the report to make sure that it's aligned to standards or it's a competition and that everything's filled out to be complete.
Okay,
So,
that-
because
the one
this
in
right
your
here
hand
may
is the
say,
TBD, right?
incomplete, yes, I don't know, it says
It was one of
TBD.
them that said TBD, and it
Right.
was approved, and it just felt,
Yes, ma'am.
and I don't wanna call out whoever
No,
it is.
that's fine.
but-
It's fine. Everything that, if you want us, we can start packing everything in
No,
behind it.
no, I was just.
But-
We don't need to do that.
But I can promise
That's
you that
overkill.
it's a
the
good point.
approval.
Yep.
And then the other thing is that, they list an account code of where to charge it from, and it'll list the cost of the field trip. But what isn't clear is who's paying for that, whether the district is paying for that,
Right.
or whether the students are paying for it. And the reason that I bring it up is that one of them is a, and not to get all the whole
Sure.
Ridgeview High
Sorry.
School band after me, but, they're spending about $50,000 to go to New York City over spring break. And if that's, it was $1,100 per student. And if they fundraised for that, or if they have, whatever, it would be nice to know.
Funding source.
Imagine the year they went to Ireland. They did for New Year's.
And if
They raised the money
if
and
the
then the
parents are-
parents pay
yeah.
the rest if the school doesn't.
But that's not clear in our paperwork, so if
Sure.
the public goes and looks, there's no indication of
Sure.
that we're not funding it. And in some cases, we might be. There might be, I know Ms. Watson had a field trip in here that was some kind of award it said county office field trip for science, and didn't list how it was paid, so.
Yes, ma'am. We can look at that. I want to redo this entire form, but I was just
Okay.
trying to get it done quickly to put on different ways of individuals to go to approve this process, and then we started putting dates on the new ones. I think that was the ask as well. Yeah, we'll look at the cost factor. Any other questions? All right, C12 is a request for Kagan training funding for the Clay Charter Academy. This is just a pass-through for Title II dollars. This is just a strategy. I think it's around $6,000 that they'll use for training internally, which we have to, they're allocated that money anyways. We're just a pass-through for them.
So
All right.
we really don't have a choice.
No, ma'am, we do not.
Well,
That-
don't they apply for their own grants? Isn't that?
Yeah, but this is through Title II, which is professional development.
Uh-huh.
So they get a portion of our professional development funding.
Okay.
And they just have to show, they're required to show us, since they're under our umbrella, what they're using their money for, how they're using it, and actually this is a pretty good training. So. All right, next one is the Motivational Coaches for America. This is a great opportunity for our junior high schools. From the work of Mr. Karakis and Mr. McCauley hand in hand. This is a free of charge to Clay County, where we'll look at identifying 50 kids at each of our junior high schools. And this is all about the early warning systems I talked about earlier. Performance Matters allow us to identify 50 kids who have an attendance, academic, and behavior problems. And this allows every school, junior high school, to have a motivational coach on site to work with kids once a week. And at the junior high level, and I think this is a great opportunity for our kids. We have so many kids in need who need assistance from a mental health perspective, and students have to qualify through Medicare, Medicaid, and we have a large number of our kids in the realm of poverty. And this allows this process to work with kids. This is a year-long process, so it's not like they only receive service while they're in school, but this goes into the summer as well, and they have the option to have to be involved in activities and field trips during the summer, and to continue to help kids get on track academically, behaviorally, and attendance-wise as well.
Is there a portion for parental consent on this?
Yes, there is. Parents have to agree to this process. This is a great opportunity for our kids.
In the table, Keystone wasn't reflected as far as truant definitions and missing academic percentage.
I'm gonna add that.
So,
Keystone is part of phase 2. Phase 1 will be Lake Asbury and Lakeside, and phase 2 will be Keystone and Oakley.
but it would be a parent's choice to opt their
Absolutely.
child into the program?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We can add Keystone. Mr. McCall, anything? Mr. Garrett, is doing some attachment. Sorry, I'm just writing this. Okay, any questions? All right. C4 is proposed allocation changes for 16-17. Right now, we have a .9 ESE behavior health. This is going to be paid for at Keystone Heights Elementary. This is at no cost, as it would be paid for federal funds through IDEA funding for student in need. C15 is our budget amendments for monthly, for every month of January. This talks about budget transfers and also monthly expenditures and revenues. To be current reserve right now is at 3.1, and this just goes and identifies where we are financially in every aspect. Dr. Legecko, you want to talk about next month's report change?
We are proposing, through the superintendent chair, we are proposing a new modified monthly financial reporting format. It will have, it'll reflect more charts and graphs, pretty much giving you a structure of where we are monthly and where, the trends of where we are, and a little more detailed explanation about the revenue, what it means, what it represents, how, a lot of more information that will be added to the financial. So we'll have a proposal, the current way it looks next month, as well as what the new proposal will be for you all to review and vet and decide if you want to continue.
I think I'd like to ask if Dr. Legecko would present that at our board meeting
Sure.
We used to have it every month, there'd be a presentation of our financials, and we kind of moved away from it. I personally like that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'd like to ask that we go back to that. So let's put the budget amendments and the financials down in the discussion part of the agenda and not in consent.
Okay.
And we can start, is it okay if we start in April or, you know?
Yeah, that's great, that sounds good. I do have a request.
Yep.
On the new forms, can we get a calculated fund balance so we can track that, the
It will.
percentage? Not just the dollar amount, but the
Right,
percentage?
it will,
Okay.
it will have, you'll be really, well, I'm impressed.
I'm sure it will be too.
It'll be
easy
Yeah.
to read.
And,
It will be very easy to
you,
read.
it won't be just numbers. You'll start to see
Yes.
graphs and charts, so you can just, some people
Yeah.
visual, and to me, I like to see graphs and charts. So,
Yeah,
Dr.
that
Gecko's work to get this ready, and we're proud of her work so that you'll be able to interact with it.
I get a lot of questions about our budget, and I did a presentation yesterday to a small group about how we are and how healthy, truthfully, we are financially right now, and charts and graphs are so helpful for the
Yep.
public, I think, to get kind of a snapshot picture of where we sit.
Yeah, I think this will be really,
I think that's great work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'd like to go back to a presentation every month. Doesn't have
But
to
we
be
do
long and
not
elaborate.
We do not need Gone with the Wind. Reader's
Yes,
Digest
the
will be
condensed
very.
version.
you know me, I
I try to
know
be-
it really fast.
I try to be shorter on my presentation.
We're just gonna turn his mic off from now on. You get 3 minutes.
I have so much I want to talk about on the community.
Were there any other questions on this?
We're good?
Okay, let's move along.
All right, C16 is checks for the month. Currently, I think we spent around $25 million. Just gives you an indication of what our expenditures were on. C17 is just another opportunity to look at our finances, revenues, and collect and what we've collected and expenditures to date. And just looks at our financial statements. C18 is once our monthly property report, looks at furniture and equipment, looks at any inventory that we've inherited or we've absorbed, any movement we've had, or any inventory that we've deleted as well. C19, this is AV materials. No movement and no purchases in this month, so this is a good thing. So no activity for C19. C20, property now, property as it relates to software. This just gives you an analysis of what we purchased and where we purchased and related to software, PageMaker, those types of things. Just gives you an indication of where we are. C21 is look at our vehicle maintenance and repair, which is our monthly report. C22 is removing items off our inventory, whether it's not functional any longer, whether it's surplus, or whether it's placed to, when I say surplus, placed to sell. Most of the stuff is pretty much not working. I hate to say it, Joe. C23 is this is where we have our annual renewals on some of our bids, and this is where we're looking at plumbing construction to do our small projects for our schools, and along with existing and potential new construction, local classrooms at scale. Also looking at our motor oil and transmission fluid as well that we do at scale. So this is just purchasing the fluids and also the oil for our fleet, for white fleet and yellow fleet, along with the contract for our plumbing. Anything on that, Mr. Monroe, Dr. Kemp? Yeah, tag team for the next couple of days. Good job. C24, this is an agreement between the school board and DES of Florida. DES is this is where we have the opportunity to hire temporary staff as needed. We have a individual that, this allows us to hire individuals who have retired, because you know that they have the pause period that we cannot hire them. However, we have one person by the name of Mike Hines, who really understands our term system pretty well. And now the fact that we've had the ERP system, the conversion, we want to keep this individual on board and extend their contract for a little bit in order to make sure that we don't have any hiccups in this transition. One of the worst things we can do is not pay people. And this individual will help us in that conversion, and this allows us to hire him as he's an individual that has retired. We've had this contract in years past, The contract has ended, so we're just looking to renew this contract, Mr. Hines.
This is the company we use with Dr. Copeland. We
Yeah.
had Dr. Copeland.
I just don't want this to be abused. There's sometimes when people retire, they need to retire.
I agree. I've had that same conversation with staff. Is that right? I've pushed them dearly on this.
And I do want to ask you this, it says on here, financial impact for the 2016-17 year, the estimated total expenditures is expected to remain below $364,977. For 17-18, to remain below 50,000. Why such a,
So my understanding is that FLICA is under this umbrella as well. So FLICA, we use 8 or 9 employees under this system, with DES of Florida. And moving forward, we don't know if FLICA is going to remain because of funding. So I didn't want to add FLICA in there. We wanted to make sure that we're just doing a true representation of what we do for the partnership with Mr. Hines. And then after that conversion, we've already had discussion about parting ways.
well, and I didn't.
But he brings great value to the
I
system.
did not know the status, because it's been a while
Yes,
since
ma'am.
we talked about FICA, but that's the big difference.
Yes, ma'am. So
I
FLICA
just saw
has,
such a big
oh no,
difference, and I thought,
I
what is
appreciate it.
Yeah.
FLICA has and-
Pay on that.
Yep,
So
FLICA
when
has
is that
to,
likely to be?
May 1st. FLICA has to May 1st to tell staff and tell us where they are financially. And they know where we stand. They know that we cannot fiscally continue to carry them, especially when a small percentage of our students attend. We think there's value in their program and we appreciate their hard work and their partnership, but we just can't afford it. So, I mean, if they find funding, that's great. I think they're really shaking every bush they can. And
The other counties who have students who come there are not contributing at all, or
no, ma'am.
what?
They're not
It
contributing
just
at all.
doesn't seem,
I
we were bearing the brunt
I agree.
for the state.
Clay County has done great work allowing that program to
Right.
survive for
Absolutely,
kids.
it's a great program.
I mean, they've done it, but I don't know how we can do it financially. It's gonna cost us a lot of money. But I agree with you, Ms. Studdard, wholeheartedly with your first statement. I do agree that there's time for succession management, but this is a major,
Yeah.
I don't wanna be that guy that
No, I
doesn't
don't
get people
wanna be the
paid.
one to say, don't ever do it, but what I'm saying is sometimes
You don't wanna be that guy.
things tend to get abused if we're not
Yes, ma'am.
watchful.
Alright. Alright, next one is C25. This looks at our adding plans, look at our final plans and of looking at remodeling the Middleburg Culinary Program at Middleburg High School. This is $450,000 grant money that will be funded to update the culinary program. This is the one we had to take off because the gentleman had some health issues. And we didn't get the plans. We do have all the plans here. If anybody wants to see it, we couldn't upload that stuff for backup, but we have it. C26 is the Clay High School Culinary Program. This is, again, out of the same grant funding. $120,000 will be put to upgrade some of the work there. And I think both programs are very fluent in their practice. And if you see, we've done some different information in our board agenda items to provide you, any information you may have questions. The gap analysis is the why. Why do we actually need this? What previous outcomes did we have and what are our expected outcomes? And then eventually, as we have a strategic plan after a 100-day plan, we'll start really partnering and attaching to our strategic plan. So so anyone will be able to see, what we're actually doing and why we're doing it versus having 1 or 2 sentences. I don't think it's fair to you, it's fair to the community. So we'll eventually start adding data as we get a look at our data warehouse system. Okay. Next one is pre-qualifications, contractors. Every month we bring individuals who aspire to bid and do work internally, and there's just a list of individuals that express interest. C28 is inventory of our fish certification. This is annual form that is submitted. This document just gives us relevant information of where we are as it relates to the Office of Educational Facilities, and we have to submit that prior to April 1st. C29, this is updates to our front office building, the main building, for security measures. I've had a hard time that we don't have the ability to log in and log out for some reason. So this really provides upgrades for us to log in and out every single day at the front building. It also allows us to look at security buzzers at our front doors of elementary schools. which are Middleburg High School, Green Cove Junior High School, Ridgeview Elementary, W. Cherry, and Keystone Elementary as well. So we're starting to get to where you cannot just walk into a main building, where you have a video buzzer where we can really see who's trying to get into our schools. Right now we have open access, and I think that puts us in a difficult situation. So this is our best effort moving forward in order to condition schools. Next one is a redesign for Keystone Heights Elementary parent pickup. We've had some issues of having individuals go into that school and have enough sufficient space. We do know the Catholic Church across the street is pretty much telling us that we have until June 30th. We no longer are able to use their land. They want to lease it to us for $3,000. We're going to continue to work through our upgrades ourselves, where we may not be able to use that, paying $300,000. I believe they used to do it historically for $1 or free. Yeah, so now they want $3,000. So I get it, it's their land.
They must think we're Methodist or Baptist.
It's sorry, it's the Catholic Church.
We gotta have a little levity.
Yes, ma'am.
The city of Keystone Heights is also putting up a fence on,
A fence, a wall?
Pecan Street.
Yes, ma'am.
In Mission.
Yeah.
Because parents are driving, now they're driving over the curb,
Oh,
over the
yeah.
sidewalk, they've broken.
Oh, we're all over their grass. We're all over everyone's grass over there.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, and
Imagine when you actually drive on a road.
yes, ma'am. So we're going to hopefully the redesign will help some of that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to help all of it, because I can't tell you where parents they park whether they think it's good. But I can tell you that the Catholic Church doesn't want us to park there anymore without paying $3,000. I'm not willing to pay $3,000 right now until after our redesign proves that we may need additional, locations.
It'll probably be
And,
5 by then.
I know, right? So
Price will go up.
yeah.
Well, this is phase 1, right? And then there's another phase 2 coming.
So I'm actually gonna. Well, I mean, have we reached out to them as of yet? I know they sent us a certified letter about the $3,000. But we had a conversation with them. Yeah, if not, I'll want to have a conversation about $3,000 with them.
Bruce is, we've been working through the mayor down
Okay.
there. The Catholic Church wanted to work through the mayor, so we've been doing that. We're trying to get a personal one-on-one.
The mayor wants out.
They went out. They
The
don't want
mayor
to.
wants out. He goes to church with me and he corners me every Sunday and he wants out and he's asking me for email addresses and phone
He sent us a letter. Someone sent us. Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Davis, this project's going to be dual correction, so not only the parent area, but also, just so you know, it's going to really parking issues for the junior high that uses that facility.
Yeah, 2-story garage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you'll be blocking someone.
I know, right? There you go. Okay. We're good on this?
We're good on this.
All right, C31 is just Orange Park Junior High School parking lot lighting. It's just looking at, we have $60,000 that we really need to look at upgrading the lighting and for us to be more energy efficient as well. And we'll be using the LED lighting within our parking lots of the school. The next one is Dr. Inlet Elementary fire alarm replacement. This is $159,000. Some of our fire alarms are extremely old, so we're trying to update them and make sure that they have the necessary tools and system in order to identify whether or not a fire is internal, so that we can have the appropriate evacuation procedures. C33 is our revision to the educational facilities plan. I know we brought this before you before, but this all it does is changes with it. We've got approved for school-wide through the state, and this just includes updates with school-wide information.
Did you say we were approved?
Yes, ma'am. We just got approved. We did celebration, dancing students.
Goodness knows, don't go over that per student station amount of money or else we get put on that other bad list.
Yeah. You got that, Doc?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's right. I would say Mr. Merrill. He's been a champion. He's working hard.
He's counting.
That's right. Well, I tell you what, he's
Making the
working.
days count.
That's right. He's working hard every single day, and I'm appreciative of his leadership. So, this is his last agenda review. You didn't want to come today. I'm sorry.
Do you ever want to come to me? Let's be honest.
Team player. I told me I had to bring all these plans in case somebody wanted to see it. I said, can you upload that stuff? He goes, there's no way, Addison. I said, make it smaller. He goes, can't do it. All right, the D1 for discussion is the resolution for Clay County Agricultural Fair. This is a resolution saying that we really support the fair, and that they will accept this resolution. I believe the general manager would like to come and speak as well.
Did anybody check to make sure that fair day for us, the
We
fair
did.
is open?
We did. We're good. We're good. We're good. On Friday, I went in there. On Friday, me and Ms. Bush went in there and said, "Can you please make sure that our fair day they're actually operational?" That would be not good. And,
That was not good.
And not open at 4 o'clock.
Right, that's what that year.
So
they
this
opened
is
at
an
4
all day,
o'clock.
right?
Yes.
Instead of 10 in the morning.
Okay.
You know,
Oh,
we give the
no,
day.
no, you and the chair at the fair luncheon.
Yes, ma'am.
Will be presenting the resolution.
Okay,
at the fair luncheon.
as well.
Karen, I'm sure Karen will tell you.
Okay, awesome.
But
Let me know when that's at. Let me know when that is. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure where you're supposed to be.
Yes, ma'am. So they'll be there, so it'll be an exciting time. Everybody gets to go to fair day. Again, I think historically we've had some representation in the exhibit areas, so we'll be there. We'll have staff. I know historically they've had principals during the school day. Our principals will be in schools and working with kids and problem solving and helping elevate the experiences for teachers. So district staff will man that booth, and we'll continue to talk about the exciting things that we're doing in Clay County. I will be
We
there
have
as
to go
well.
out and see the pigs.
Yes, ma'am.
The
I'm
ag
excited.
program and
I
FFA,
tried to
I
get
mean, they really-
Professor Macaulay to purchase one with me.
I
He
know
goes,
where you
what?
can get
Where?
the breed.
I know, right? Trying to sell me a little one.
You don't have to like keep it in your yard.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
thank you.
Yeah, take some of the
It's a national shortage, there's no CNN of the day.
pigs.
Of bacon. National shortage. Sorry, I don't bring that, I don't know why I know that, but. I apologize. That's a true fact though. All right, D2. I put this on here as my understanding that we were pushing it this month. So, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
stage.
if we're gonna rescind it, the 90 days, we'd have to do it at the March meeting, otherwise we're committed for the next year. I had sent an email to Mr. Sykes asking,
I replied, and I wrote, basically, if you're gonna do this, I'll read out loud to everybody what my email says. This is the language if you're gonna do it. Pursuant to paragraph 5 of the Synovia contract dated May 19, 2016, the School Board of Clay County has voted to not appropriate funds to the continuing payment on this contract. The district is directed to send a 90-day notice to Synovia in accordance with the contract and return all Synovia property. And then you also need to understand, in accordance with paragraph 5, you also need to send a sworn affidavit stating that there are no funds available to the school board to pay for this contract. So somebody has to do that under oath saying that there is no money available to pay the contract. And then at the end of the email, I opined to you that I don't think either of these things will stop a lawsuit from Synovia. They'll probably still sue. But the one concern that I would have is somebody has to do a statement under oath according to the contract that we don't have any funds to pay the contract. I mean, if you want me to read that to you, I can. It says, hold on, I think it's
well, while you look for that, I have a question of Dr. Legutko and Mr. Davis. If we are saying there's no funds for that and we're appropriating it to something else, which is what we're gonna do, I mean, look at the list of stuff on here, we can appropriate it towards anything else. Doesn't that kind of answer that question? That,
I don't think so.
I mean, they're, what we have in our fund balance, what'd you just say, we're 3.1?
I think 3.1 right now.
So, there's no fund balance money to take out to pay that, and we're appropriating everything else towards other contracts. So, Mr. Sykes, does that stand to reason that, if we, as the board, are directing the superintendent that we're not giving him
I want to
funding
be
for
careful
that?
while we're being recorded on the record. I don't want to make any statement that would potentially be used against us. I've expressed my concern. I had it right here. Hang on a second. Okay, here it is, sorry. You may terminate the foregoing shall be, I'm sorry, I can't read it, let me see. I had it. By giving 90 days prior written notice to the vendor and enclosing therewith a sworn notarized statement that the foregoing conditions exist, and then that's where you're talking about no availability of the funds. So you have to have sworn statements that there are no available funds to continue making such payments under the agreement. And so somebody has to make that, and that means that there's no funds. It doesn't mean we've decided to take the appropriate funds from point A to point B. The funds are there, if we're redirecting them, then we're engaging in another obligation, and we're deciding to not use the funds that we have available, and we're trying to use them someplace else. That doesn't mean we don't have appropriate funds. That means we decided to use the funds that we have somewhere else. And I just want to be careful, because we're being recorded, about making statements that would be used against us. I have concerns that we would still be sued.
I have a question. What is the date that this contract was signed, please?
I wrote that in the email as well, May 19, 2016.
Of 16? And do you
But
know?
it was signed by them on May 4th, but it was signed by us on May 19th.
Okay, and so what board meeting was it where this was discussed and approved by 3 members of the board?
I think it was the May 19th meeting.
May 19th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I want to go back and look at it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Merrill, when this came to us, weren't we told it had a 30-day cancellation? And because we were piggybacking on St. Lucie, and there was something in that contract that, some paperwork with it that Dr. Lagupa sent us, and that's highlighted, 30-day cancellation on it.
I'd have to go back and take a look at the board meeting again. I know there's 3 different cancellations, once with the contract we signed, piggybacking off it. I assume that there's another cancellation policy somewhere, or cancellation clause somewhere, so I'll have to go back and refresh myself.
I
It's been
can't
so long, I
understand
think
for
it
the
would
life
be-
of me why we would enter into a contract that we could not cancel and didn't have an exit strategy. I mean, this is just crazy.
That's why I want to go back and watch it, because I was thinking we were told we could cancel this with a, I don't remember if it was 30, 60, 90, but I want to go back, because you can't remember back then, you need to go back and watch the meeting.
And everybody has, I believe Dr. Lagupa emailed all of us, 2 months back, the contract and all the accompanying, so I would just recommend we all read it and be prepared to discuss it at the board meeting.
And this is capital funds, it's not
Right.
your 100 funds, it is capital funds.
Any other questions, or?
I have one question. The only way out of the contract is by declaring an inability to pay. There's not a way out of the contract if they're not providing all the services that they were contracted to
That would
provide.
be, we discussed that at the last workshop. If we are not receiving the benefit of the bargain, then we can say that there is breach. But I think if we talked about last workshop, that would require a series of efforts to ask them to rectify the situation. And if they fail to rectify the situation, then they're in material breach, then they can be terminated based upon breach.
So am I to understand we have not done that? We haven't.
I haven't been asked, I don't know if we've sent any letters saying that
Yeah,
there's defects.
I can tell you that we haven't sent any letters. We've had some issues back and forth about some of the early initial implementation of it, of some of the functions, and we've had to replace some equipment. But we haven't sent anything saying that that they're out of compliance with implementation. I do believe, and I said in my presentation, I think we own a poor launch to that. Anything else?
Well, the system does work, and it's working as promised. There are some features that are not completely turned on. The turn-by-turn features is one specifically. But as far as the devices are working, the drivers were able to access it and utilize it. We were able to capture the data and see what's going on with the system daily. So I can demonstrate that it is working.
I'm sorry.
Anytime that you've, if I might ask you a question.
Sure.
Anytime that you've experienced difficulty with the system, have you reported it to Synovia and then they've been responsive to correct it?
Yes, we have an issue response system where if there's a failure, we put them on notice. Or if it's an enhancement request, hey, we would like to see it this way so it's more functional for our team. So we submit the issue up to their project team. They give us a resolution or a schedule when they're planning to make that resolution for us.
And it's been adequate to serve the needs of the district?
The company has been very responsive in that, yes.
And if I can add one other thing, at the bottom of the addendum A that we added into it, and Nancy and I had spent a lot of time putting together addendum A that we're using a lot of our contract, because it helps us out a great deal. there is the following line at the very bottom of it, and I'll discuss it in a second. It says, in the event sufficient budgeted funds are not available for a new fiscal period, the purchasing department shall notify the vendor of such an occurrence, and any resulting contract shall terminate on the last day of the current fiscal period without penalty or expense to the school board. That on one hand says we have the ability to terminate at the end of the fiscal year, but the issue then becomes is, are there budgeted funds available or not? And the argument that becomes, if they can, in litigation shows that we have appropriated funds and we had the ability to pay it, we chose to do something else with it, the capital funds that's discussed, we are looking at liability for lawsuit. That's the issue. Do we have sufficient language to try to get out of it? Potentially, yes, but I think that you risk the lawsuit.
Can I ask this question, Mr. Woodward? Do you have that, Ms. Gilhousen asked about a report. Do you have that report that shows every time that we've interacted with Synovia about what's working, what's not, and what needs to be done differently, that you could send to me that I can push to the board?
Yes.
That way that you have.
So if you want to terminate it as a breach, then that's a different issue than terminating based upon bits. That's an entirely different language.
Sure. And we have to make that determination after you reviewed that report.
I would appreciate that and a recommendation from your staff if you feel, official recommendation, you feel that you've been adequately served by this company, or do you feel like they're in breach of their contract?
Yes, ma'am.
It would be interesting to know how many times we have reported to them, you know, there were problems with this, that, and the other, and how they responded. And also that would inform the board as to what the different issues were.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further questions?
I just think a coupled recommendation from you and your staff is
Okay.
vital on this issue.
Yes, ma'am. All right, D3 is just special action A. See if you have any questions. D4, school board attorney.
I think this is just best discussed
Yeah,
at the March
yep.
2nd meeting.
Yep, I put this on for request. All right, so D5 is advertisement amendment for school board policy 406 to be approval for advertisement. This is a policy change because this deals with our controlled open enrollment. We've had staff working rigorously over the last couple weeks because, to be honest with you, we were required by state to have the COE plan, and we are really behind in our deadline. This allows us to look at in April. This allows us to really push the policy to be approved in April. You'll have a policy approval, you'll have a plan approval, and you'll have an application approval process that comes in April. But this policy, the policy changes allows us to get to that because we have to have a 30-day public hearing window.
Can I interrupt you for a
Sure.
minute? I'm sure you probably all opened up the backup. The policy that was on there is the one from 2 months ago that we pulled off because it really wasn't a policy. It was more of a plan of action. It was just on there by mistake.
This is the.
So this is the new.
Yep, this is the new policy. Mr. Karakas, you want to walk through this policy change?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This policy change basically ties in line with statute 1002.31. The pertinent section, you'll notice the underlining is new sections and information that's been added. The strike-throughs are deletions, obviously. The new section, though, that would be of most importance to you is section E and section F on there. Essentially, the way our school choice or special assignments have worked, as you'll see on page 2, is we already offer the opportunity for parents and students to be assigned to a specific school based on a hardship. And you'll notice at the top of page 2, these are daycare, medical requests, academic programs, or any other extenuating circumstances. That we're calling hardship. We've added the word in there at the top of that title. Other than that, those are categories that have already existed in your policy for the last 20 years. Those remain exactly the same and are not being changed. The next section, section E, is where we start talking about non-residents, and that is what's basically now known as controlled open enrollment pursuant to the state of Florida. The concept is that the state is doing away with district boundary lines, so we give priority to our students who live within the county, but any student who's a student in the state of Florida can be sent to a school anywhere as long as there's capacity. And that could even be as ridiculous as sending your kid down to Miami if they wanted to go to school and you live in Jacksonville. The important thing to note is the parent is responsible for the transportation. So we anticipate there will be a lot of people from Duval, for example, wanting to come down Blanding to the Orange Park schools, wanting to move into Oakley. Same thing in Keystone, you have a big population next door in Stark, Melrose, Bradford counties where they might want to come to Clay County schools. So this policy just ties us in line with what the requirements are for the state. And if you look on page 3, that's sort of the meat and potatoes of the actual controlled open enrollment policy. This is the stuff that we're required to put in here pursuant to the statute. This will tie in with the plan that Ms. Dennis will talk about in just a moment. The plan is the information that the board will approve on an annual basis, and that'll have things such as where we have capacity, how many seats are available at each school, what the timeline will be, how we'll accept applications for students. And you'll see in there, we'll be using a lottery process. It'll be a strictly random lottery, which eliminates the need for having any sort of appeal. One board member will be assigned, I believe Ms. Stutter has been assigned for this year, to sit on the committee that Ms. Mueller will be putting together as head of school choice. Ms. Mueller will have a committee that every year in the summer we'll get together, look at all the applications that have come in for schools that have capacity, and using the lottery process, assign people based on those criteria. If you look at the bottom of page 3, Category F is a new category that we're adding to the policy, and this is the rankings to determine school placement. So we wanted to preserve what already existed, and as you can see, the first category we'll process, number 1, will be career and technical education. So these are kids who are applying for either a CTE program or academic acceleration program. That might include collegiate high school, IB, ACE Academy, such as that. And as you'll see, we offer priority to students who are already in county first. If there are remaining program slots for any academy or an IB space, then they can be given to out-of-county residents. Second category is school district employees. The only change here that we've eliminated the differentiation between an in-county and an out-of-county employee. So I'm a teacher, I live in Orange Park, right? My kid now has the same access as a teacher who lives in Duval County and wants to send her kid to Clay County because she teaches here. So controlled open enrollment eliminates the district boundary line, so all employees, children will be treated the same, whether they're in county or out of county. They'll be the second category. Third category is the hardship. Again, that's the categories that were included on the top of page 2. Again, those already existed under your policy. That's hardships, medical, daycare, extenuating circumstances when people come before you and say, hey, I really need this, give good reasoning why. The fourth category, fourth and fifth, are the 2 categories that are being added by the state. Open enrollment. Category 1, and they'll all be ranked equal, will include dependent children of active duty military personnel, children relocated due to foster care, any court-ordered separation or custody changes, and students who live within the district. So when there are openings in a school after those first 3 categories are processed, these are the people who will be given spots. After in-county students and special issues such as military, court order, or foster care, on the top of page 4 you'll see controlled open enrollment for out-of-county residents. And these are going to be people who don't fall into any other category who want to send their children to Clay County schools. They will have spots as well. So we've established an 85% threshold. I think Ms. Dennis will talk about that a little bit more in the plan, because that's something that will be set by the board every year. But essentially what we look at is a school that has capacity will be defined as a school that is below 85% threshold. So if the school has room for 1,000 children, has 900 kids at it, that school will be closed pursuant to open enrollment. There will be no spots at that school, because we have to leave room for students who move into that district who are actually zoned for it. If they move in mid-year, if their new neighborhoods go up, growth is always happening and changing, we have to leave room there. So we're not going to fill schools up to 100%. We set it at 85%. I believe we have 10 schools that's in the plan. Ms. Dennis, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I think you guys got an attachment of the draft.
Yeah, it should be in there.
Plan as well, and then a draft FAQ document, just because I know we're gonna have a lot of questions come through, and we're in the process right now of setting up a, basically an email address, like a controlled enrollment at myoneclay.com, so we can send.
They're not.
It was attached.
It's in the packet. Can you bring it up? Ms. Bush, can you bring it up? It's in the back there.
And the important thing, just procedurally, this month, we're not asking you to approve this policy, we're just asking it to be noticed for advertising. As you know, state law requires 30-day notice whenever we make a policy change. The April meeting is when you'll be taking 3 separate votes. You'll approve the actual policy, you'll approve the plan that Ms. Dennis has, which sets the threshold number and the seats that are available, and you'll also approve the new application form we're currently working on. That will be a new numbered form that will fall under school choice. So all 3 of those will actually be approved and take effect beginning in the April board meeting.
I have a question.
Yep.
Under this plan, the special pupil request forms, will they be held to the 85% capacity rule as well?
I believe all of it will be. I mean, when we talk about special pupil assignment, I think it all goes away to open and controlled enrollment, and then they have to apply for that hardship. We want to protect every kid that's already currently at their schools, so we don't want to displace some kids who are currently there. But this will all go through an application process based on seats availability.
Well, from a parent's perspective, I see that being a little bit of frustration for your in-county parents because
Right.
they're losing an option that they previously had, and people out of our county are getting a new option.
Right. But I will say out of county is the last facet, so in county,
I understand that, but the capacity change will affect those families who were able to previously,
oh yeah, internally.
Mr. Davis, if I can jump in here, we can look into that and get back to the answer. I don't know that that's correct. I don't think we'll hold special pupil requests to the same capacity threshold because there are so few of them, and the board and staff look at those on a case-by-case basis. So the capacity threshold only comes into place when we talk about open enrollment students. If you have a medical issue and you're applying for a hardship, or if you're an employee, all of those are processed before we look at that. And we're grandfathering in people who are already at an existing school.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, principals and teachers who keep sending emails to us and calling, rest assured, if your kids are already assigned to a school, they will be able to complete the highest grade level at that school before they have to apply if they want a special request for junior high or high school, or if they want to do a transfer. They're in the school now, they'll stay in the school.
so the 85% capacity under this policy would apply only to our out-of-county.
In county and out of county for open enrollment. It's categories 4 and 5 on the bottom here.
So, yeah, I mean, it's 85% for everyone, and that's where we have to we need to we make sound decisions, because if we say 85, we're not gonna open it for anyone, and then we open it for an internal candidate, and then an external candidate hears that we opened it, then I think we can put ourselves into a sticky situation. What the state did is they handled this process, which I'm for choice, school choice. The problem is they didn't give us any parameters. It didn't define the process, didn't define the capacity, didn't give us a sample plan, a sample policy. They didn't give us anything. So I would say forecasting for 18-19, the state's gonna pretty much get it right in the sense that let us kind of work through some of these barriers, and then they'll begin to put stricter parameters and guidance for this process. So right now we're gonna grow together in this, such as every county in the state of Florida, because very little has been defined in this process.
And if I can give, well, if I can give you an example, Oakleaf High School, right, is busting at students over capacity. But the school district pays for programs up there, right? We have the aeronautics specialty program, which is a career and tech education program. Let's say there were 5 seats available in that career academy, but the school itself is over the 85% threshold, so we will not be taking people pursuant to open enrollment. Those spots will still be open to people to apply for the academy. And again, we're ranking in-county students applying for those academy spots ahead of out-of-county. We protect Clay County people. Those spots will be processed before we get to open enrollment.
That's why when I brought up earlier, the things like the pathway, like
Yes, ma'am.
for instance, the Embry-Riddle program at
Right.
Keystone, that is no longer considered an academy because they're only going to have the Ag Academy.
Right.
That the only way for that program to maintain and grow is if we have a pathway that students could apply.
Sure.
Because Keystone High School is not one of the ones that's on here for control of enrollment. So I understand the percentage difference, but that's a great example of where I can see you would want to bring in fact, the teacher who teaches that program asked me, said to me he's had conversations with you all about, or sent emails about asking, could we advertise in the local papers to see if we could get, I guess his program has lower enrollment.
Yeah, low enrollment.
And he would like to increase it.
Right.
We're not marketing that at all.
I don't disagree with him or you on that.
On the actual,
Plan?
yeah. I was wondering, you had given us this last month, of school capacity sheet, and there were 7 schools that are not at 85% capacity that are not on this list. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, so it's an updated list that we have. I can see the one that you have. There was one that was prior to being able to approve with School Y and repurposing. Yeah, this is current. So we'll give you an updated one, because when we were repurposing portables, it's going to allow us to some of our schools to come off this list, and now we should only have 11 schools identified because we have available classrooms in those settings.
Okay.
Yeah, is that correct?
That's correct.
I have a question still about this bill has this question of the special pupil request. I don't see why we would be using that form if those students, in the cases where we've seen special people, in some cases it's for daycare, so they're staying with grandma gets them to and from. Well, now, that's kind of more of a hardship, and the 85 capacity does affect them, because it's not always the special people who sign up for career and
Right.
tech. It could just be, whatever daycare they go to, they fill one of those out to get into that school. So how are we gonna accommodate those families and still,
I believe that, in that policy, and Michael, tell me if I'm wrong, that hardship should cover those individuals.
It does. The
Yeah.
form that the county already has in place will continue to be used. I think it's numbered, it's probably a poor name, I think it's STD 1234 is the number. Yeah. I've been trying to find
I
out.
inherited that. I inherited that. You can change that.
We're gonna be revising all of the forms when Ms. Moore gets her committee together.
Page 2.
If you look at the top of page 2, you'll see there are a
But I won't
number,
have them memorized like you do, Michael.
there's a number of different forms that are already in use though, whether it's for daycare, for medical, for hardship. Those will continue to be used, just hopefully with new names as we move
We'll
forward.
probably rename them.
Is there, Michael, is there a different policy or for school-wide? In case in that area, I don't know how fast the growth is happening in that area, where if there's apartments that are under
Yeah.
construction, yet that school gets flooded with Duval kids, is there
So
separate language for that for us?
No, there's actually-
Or-
there's not, but we believe that 85% is gonna allow us to have that buffer. Majority of the districts in the state of Florida are gonna use 90. And I think 90 is a good number. The problem is that we do have expected growth in certain areas of Clay County. I think the 85% is gonna allow us for that expansion. I will tell you, a surrounding county next to us is using 80. I think 80 is not a solid number to use and could potentially put yourself in an area for
They
litigation.
actually went back and used 85.
Did they?
I went to the Northeast Florida Coalition
Good, I
School
told
Board
the
meeting,
superintendent he
and they went back
Yep.
and used 85, and they got 80 applications the first day they
Yep.
launched it.
Yeah, I spoke to the superintendent, I told him that was my recommendations, but it was
Mr.
good.
Davis, if I can add to that, we're technically not required to include every school on here if it doesn't exist, and school-wide doesn't exist at this point, so I think my official opinion would be we don't have to include that on here until the school opens and we see
Right.
where the actual
Right.
enrollment are.
Because you got builders advertising,
yeah,
Oakley,
we do.
you're gonna go
And
to Oakley School and.
It's important to look at this and keep in mind that we're not doing this on a rolling basis throughout the year. This is a one-time, every year during the summer, we go through, and after that, there won't be open enrollment during the school year. We're not gonna have every week where kids can apply and be moved constantly. This will be capacity based on during the summer, one time, it's one shot, you get granted a spot through the lottery process, you get into that school. Next year, you can reapply if you didn't get it.
Ms. Dennis, you want to update anything on this plan real fast
So the
about capacity?
plan would be what would come to the board every year based on if the state comes in and mandates a capacity or what. The only thing the state has mandated from us is that we do not have to currently take a student that is in a hearing for expulsion from another district. That's really kind of it. I think it's a large guideline. So yes, the determination of capacity, that is different just because I think it was last Wednesday we got the portable.
That's what I said.
It was last Wednesday, so we updated it based on the portables. So technically as well, the available seats, the total available seats, 1557. That's not meaning we're gonna necessarily take 1557 students from surrounding counties. That could be students who live in a different attendance zone and didn't get in with they're not going for a high school for an academy, they just wanna go to a different high school for whatever reason. So some of those seats can be students that are already in the county right now. The application process, we are in the works of creating the application. It is going to be an online application, and then we're going to have it for an equitable access to do just print it out if you need to have a printed copy, and it's gonna be mailed to the district office, so the schools don't necessarily have to be taking in all these printed copies as well, just online application. The window that we're proposing is April 7th through May 8th. And then we're also proposing May 6th to do a school showcase where each school then would be able to showcase, the great things and market their school, like why would you want to come to this school? And then we'll have a booth at the school showcase that will be set up with some laptops where they can apply right there as well.
And that date might change, we're still trying to work with the
Yes.
county commission to help lock down when we can use those. So
There is no appeal process, because based on the statute, if we do a lottery procedure, we don't have to do an appeal process. So, when we do the lottery, so say, for example, we know that Coppergate Elementary has 147 available seats. Pull 147 in the lottery, and then we'll give them a wait list for the people who applied. So that way, if those people decide, I'm really not gonna go there, then we can go ahead and start picking the next person on the wait list. And then the schools, if your child is chosen through the lottery, it's the school and the parent's responsibility to get the child registered. So we're not gonna be coming through and doing that at the district office. They'll go to the school and register like you would register with your shot records and all of that.
So you're gonna accept kids up to whatever that 85% number is. So if someone moves in
Correct.
January,
Yeah.
we've still
Yes.
got some flexibility.
absolutely.
Okay.
And know that once we do the lottery, they have 10 days to accept. After 10 days, they do not accept, we go to a wait list, which we'll create and be very honest with parents of where they are on that wait list. They have 5 days, after the first 5 days, as Mr. Carrico spoke about, that'll be the first 5 days they have to claim their spot, or that spot goes away. And that'll be the only window in reference to when we open this process for controlled open enrollment.
Yeah, the first 5 days of school.
Will this
That's
have any effect on how they get into OPE? Because they've been doing a lottery.
Yeah, we'll protect them as a somewhat of a
I just
unique,
wondered, that's kind of
specialized
a
program.
unique situation.
Yes, ma'am. They'll be in the same level,
Yeah.
specialized program, no different than CTE and acceleration programs.
They're not, I was gonna say they're not at a
They're over.
capacity. So
We'll
you-
continue to protect.
And you're only applying to the schools that are
That are on
this,
this,
so
so it
it's
wouldn't
not like you
affect
can just
them.
apply anywhere. It's
Because,
these
I
are the
mean,
only
it
schools
just
that you
seems
can
that
actually get a seat in.
That's a different thing, and it sets them apart from.
Yes. And then we added in something different, because it looks like a lot of other districts are only rescinding placement if incorrect or false information is provided on the application, or there's an attendance, tardiness, or discipline behavior problem, and I know we discussed possibly like a matrix or something. And then we added an academic criterion based on FHSAA, the requirements of a 2.0 GPA. So that's,
Is it the same with our academies? What's the academic requirement for our academies?
yeah, I have to find
They're
out on that
different.
one.
Is it
Based on-
2.5?
Well, some
Yeah,
of
I think
them
some
are
are three.
like the ACEs.
Yeah, I think
Well,
ACE
ACEs,
is
yeah.
over, I think it's a 3.0 above, but I can look into that. But we will definitely manage it the same way.
So
So
check at the end
if,
of
so
the
if
year.
a student drops below a 2.0
End of year.
anytime during the year, or how is that GPA?
No,
Yeah, that was Laura's question.
yeah, so once the kid will be grandfathered in for the entire school year. We know that mobility hurts kids as they move from school to school during the school year, and we don't want to hurt the learner at all. And but we will continue to be open with connecting with parents and the child to let them know where they are, especially using the early warning system that we will adopt. And we'll have multiple conversations with them along the way. And we'll in mid-year we'll give them a letter such as we do in third grade retention. You have potential of being promoted, or your potential of being retained, or in the same. It will be in the way of you have the potential of losing your allocation spot within the school if you don't continue to excel academically as outlined by the contract and the application process.
But they're grandfathered for the entire year?
Yes.
And that would be the same thing for career and tech. You can't use an opening
Yeah.
in career and tech to get into a school and then drop out of an academy.
So doesn't that need to be stated in our plan?
You can add it.
And
I mean,
as far
I
as
believe
the,
it's best practice to keep kids in there all year.
As far as the discipline behavior, I thought the statute was pretty clear on, it can only be, like, it can't just be a suspension. I thought the statute was very clear on, it has to be an expulsion.
It's expulsion, it is. But I believe that we can draft the parameters that if it's a student that has, habitual misconducts, well, actually that would probably capture through Bannerman if they have multiple infractions, because we're going to try to build a matrix of that as well, so.
Once you get into the
Actually, we'll go
school,
away.
pursuant to open enrollment, it's not carte blanche to go and get as many referrals as you
No,
want.
no, I know.
So the statute's clear on the threshold for coming into the district. Once they're in the district, some counties are requiring them to sign a contract, just like they have at OPE, where they say, I won't miss school, I won't get a referral. That's what we're dealing with on the
That
backside
wasn't
with
how
the
I
matrix.
understood the statute. I understood the statute as you pretty much, once you take them, you pretty much can't get rid of them unless they're up for an expulsion or.
So
I didn't even know that
Right.
and again, I know the statute is
Sure,
loose, but,
yep, it is.
if other counties are not doing the grade, it's just areas you open yourself
Yeah.
up for loss.
So we have vetted a number of open enrollment policies and plans out there throughout the state, and the majority of them have these three indicators: through attendance, academics, and behavior. Which, I mean, I would say that I think that protects us, and especially with them being very vague in this this new policy.
I have one more question, sorry,
Yes,
Renly will
ma'am.
kill me if I don't ask
It's
any
okay.
questions. How is, at the,
Renly, if you're watching, you ask questions.
she better not be, because she's in Disney right now.
She's not really at Disney.
I just say that whenever
You
she's not
say
here. How is this gonna impact the high schools with our cohorts for graduation? So we take a kid in 10th grade and then we boot them out, is that now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, actually, once you accept that kid, and that kid's in it within their 4-year cohort, then that kid's already in the denominator. So that kid counts. So it's our job to continue to help that kid be most successful. If a kid's behind, then we've got to figure out with coaching and counseling to the parent if that's really the best environment for the kid.
Well, that's why I'm asking, I'm assuming we're going with a lotto system because the appeals process would be so terrible that we wouldn't want to deal
never
with
get out
it.
of it.
But if we're taking, I'm just thinking about like, I'm at Orange
Yeah.
Park High and we
Yeah.
have 377 seats.
Yep.
You bring me 377 kids from Duval and
Yeah.
that's gonna, I can just tell you, I already
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen.
Could be the
as
right
opposed-
377 kids from Duval. I'm just telling you. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so, I'm just
I'm
wondering.
just saying that because we want to think positive about the
Right.
kids that we interact with. So all that to say is that we will, in that vetting process, if a kid comes to a part where they're in the lottery, and if they're not, if we believe that they're not on track to graduate, then we'll have that professional conversation. Mr. Connor will spearhead that and work with the principal to have that meeting with that kid.
Yeah, it's not so much, I didn't mean like
Yeah,
a
no,
bad
I
kid,
got
it's
it, I
it's
got
a
it,
transportation,
I got
they come and then all of a
I
sudden they're
can-
never here
yeah.
because the transportation is
And-
90% of the time.
And as Mr. Berry said, there's 2 schools that have very large numbers. That is Orange Park Junior High School and Orange Park High School, and the next would be Ridgeview High School as well. So this all goes back, I'm sorry, I'm coming to you. This all goes back for us creating robust programs and offerings within our schools that brings back kids who are in charter schools and in private schools in Clay County. And homeschool. I mean, I support all of them, but we got to get our kids back. So, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
No, that's good.
No, you're good.
Mr. Davis?
Do you want me to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Only question I had was, because you just referenced charter schools, they're subject to this as well, correct? So if they fall below the 85% capacity, then they would
Yeah,
have
I
their
would
name on
say
this list,
that-
right?
Yeah, they're under our umbrella.
Right, so like.
So I guess do we need to add, can we,
I don't think that's correct. The charter
Can you
schools
check?
already have their own process for
For
how they
enrollment.
take students or don't take
Can-
students. They don't use district boundary lines, so.
Okay, so you don't
Can-
think they fall under your?
We'll check it out. Can we check out and see if they actually fall in that umbrella for that?
Interesting
I know that, I know that our board can close a charter for lack of enrollment.
Yeah, we actually have one that doesn't have sufficient enrollment as identified through their contract.
Right, so that was my question, should their name be on here? Because
We'll
I
look
know we
into it.
discussed the struggles with that school, and
Yeah.
if we list them on here, then they're gonna lose their enrollment. These
Oh,
things that
I'll look into it.
complications.
And I apologize that we had the wrong version. The older version was updated on there. You're just seeing today. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email on the policy or with Dennis with the plan. We're happy to answer any questions for them.
Dr. Kemp, you had a question?
Yeah.
Mr. Davis, to the board, I just want to remind everybody, this is 2017-18 capacities. It's going to change drastically when we open elementary Y. This really only reflects the required portable repurposing that you approved and the state approved the spot survey. So what you're looking at is number capacity just based on next year. It will change drastically for 2018-19 when we open elementary Y and we do the required redistricting for elementary Y, as well as taking off additional portables that we're required to do each year. So understand that that's just capacity at this point for 17-18. It will drastically change each
Yeah,
year.
in 18-19, I'll bring a repurposing plan to the board sooner than later, so you'll see my thinking.
So far, no one has introduced a bill altering the statute, which I had expected, so that's a good thing. I think maybe they're gonna try to let school districts have a year.
They're gonna let us have the
Figure it
months.
out.
Yeah, they're gonna change it. We're already, actually, me and Mr. Karakis and Mr. McCauley have already met with, you know, some individuals that are, you know, connected to DOE and talking about this entire process and how, you know, it should be transformed and what our thinking process would be as we move to 1819. Correct, Mr. McCauley? Mr. Karakis.
I just thought of a good retirement gift for Mr. Merrill. We should put one of those portables in his backyard.
We're gonna sell for $100. $1. You get to pick.
It's one of those 20-year-old ones.
You'll take two, pal.
I would buy one that
Send one to Mr. Elliott,
carpentry
Mr.
classes
Connell.
made versus the one we
Yeah.
buy.
I'll tell you, there's some very nice ones.
They're way better, the ones the carpentry kids made are way better than those new ones.
Most people buy them and they put
Was
them
there any
outdoors.
other discussion on this item? No.
All right, move to the fun stuff. C6, proposed allocation changes for 17-18. So what you'll see in front of you that I attached and also gave everyone a nice little packet. This gives you this packet here, sorry I referenced this. This gives you an overview of best practices in budgeting. I know historically that Clay County has had, provided an allocation model to each of you in reference to what schools actually get. But I don't believe they actually did it that shows you how resources are actually earned by each school and given to you to show how resources are actually used to achieve and increase student achievement. The model that I provide to you today is a model that is based on really student enrollment FTE. And I've said it many times where we have to give, schools have to be funded in the ways that they equal to the number of students that are actually enrolled in our schools. We are, if you look at this document, the first page document really talks about how, if you look at the rationale, pretty much, the chart talks about student enrollment FTE equals, looking at programmatic ads and school improvement ads should equal the school's allocation. We can no longer be subjective in what school gets position, assistant position, and moving forward. If a school has 100 FTEs, and they ought to generate enough funding for 100 FTEs. In some cases, we were paying them for 125 and 130 FTEs when they didn't generate it. A lot of that had to do with subjective placement of staff. Had to do with the wall-to-wall academies where we had to cohort every single student in our school, which has impacted our schools financially and also the district financially. Because you had to, cohorts of kids had to pack it and move together, and that's really, it didn't impact the pathways, but it impacted our general offerings in our classes. So what I bring to you today is a plan to really mainstream our processes and give you a strategic plan to show how we're using staffing ratios based on student and class size outlined by state statute. And we have generated a plan that looks at it in the yellow chart at the bottom that is looked at to our student teacher ratio. The second handout gives you another, sorry, I'm going to go through this packet. The second handout gives you another chart, the chart of where we are with our fund balance historically. And my job as superintendent is to like Ms. Gilhousen said earlier, is to make sure that we are fiscally healthy. And so this plan will help in this process. In addition, I did a comparative analysis of percentage funded by function, and I did a couple highlighted functions. Can you put this up, Ms. Bush? This one up so everybody can see it. This really shows us where Clay County is in relation to other school districts, maybe at the top, other school districts within the state of Florida.
On the second page.
Second page. In the state of Florida as it relates to enrollment. I'm not saying these are like counties, but they're like counties as it relates to enrollment. And it shows us at the top where it says Clay County, it shows us the percentage of our budget that is allocated to each of these functions. And you can see at the bottom, anything in red at the bottom shows that we are overfunding as relates to the state average. And it shows in the lower the number, the higher the number, like 4 out of 7, shows us that that we are pretty much overfunding in these types of areas. As you can see that we've overfunded in instructional media, we've somewhat overfunded in professional development. We've done a great job with, underfunded in maintenance. But if you look at the last one in instruction, a bulk of our funding has been put in instruction. That means that we put a lot in our instructional staff, our supplies, our materials, and our curriculum. and we are outpacing the state of the amount of money that we are putting. We have 66% of our budgeting going to instruction, and which means that that is the right thing in a perfect world, but we get to a point where we do not have the financial resources to continue to do so. And there has to be rationale of how you generate funding within our school so that we can make sure that we stay in our financial structure of our needs.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On those first 2 pages before you go on?
Yes, ma'am.
So on page 1, it says senior high, 25 students per class.
That's correct.
I
That's correct.
didn't think that, I thought class size was 22.
25.
25,
There's 22
okay.
at junior high school, and
Okay.
it's from 4 to 8 is 22. K through 3 it's 18, and everything else above is 25.
Okay, and then my second question is, your comments about the 66% in the instruction.
Yep.
That is one way to look at it, but
It's a positive way too.
but there's also the flip side of that is that more money, we were number 2 in the state, second only to Seminole County in an amount of dollars that we put in the classrooms. So this is a change back to, I mean, if you're gonna take your percentage and
Sure.
drop it, the amount
Sure.
in the classrooms, then you're increasing the amount that's not in the classrooms, which is
Oh,
administrative and overhead.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it goes to administration. It may go to different facets of the organization that we can be most successful in. And I would say that 66% may not change ultimately because that's embedded with curriculum, supplies, and instruction and personnel. It may shift within that pocket. So 66 may stay the same. It may shift from allocations to employees to curriculum, from curriculum to interventionists. So I'm just giving you a number to see where we are comparative to the
So
state
you
and the
mean,
other way.
you could take it and smooth it out in the
You
other
could put it in a
branches.
range. There's so many different functions I didn't put on there because I didn't know if you wanted all that information. So, but I just wanted to give you some areas that were highlighted to me that we may need to address, and just to give you a different way of thinking of where we are financially. So that was only for an FYI. I just thought it was intriguing to look at those numbers. I know that I'm probably the only person to say, wow, look at that, numbers, and like it, but I'm sorry. I just wanted you to share.
I like dollars in the
I
classroom.
know, I'm sorry, I agree. And ultimately, you would see that, and with all the money that we're putting in the classroom, you should see us having a staircase approach moving in the top 10. We're not. So we've got to figure out what that causation is. Is that causation having the right curriculum? Is it the right supports? All kind of facets you can look at to determine where we are.
It's got to be a balanced approach between, dollars in the classroom does not always equate to people. It could be technology, facilities, relevant current facilities, true digital enhanced classrooms. All that is dollars to the classroom, but just not in the instructional allotment piece. There's got to be a balance between instruction, operations, and support. It's a 3-legged stool. Without each leg, the stool won't stand very long. And if it's too much in one and not another, then we can't appropriately support the classrooms that we have to have in order to create, to elevate Clay, to create an environment that's actually going to make sure that our kids have the best from technology, facilities, safety, security, as we move forward. There's got to be a balance to be a reliable and efficient organization.
So, and this allows, thank you, Dr. Kemp, and this allows us to do so. So everyone has we uploaded in the backup, but it's an allocation plan for elementary, junior high school, and high school. This really talks about administration, how you generate administrators, how you generate basic teachers, which is based on state class size, basic supports within your classrooms, resource options, and this year, every elementary school will have art, music, PE, and media. And I can't tell you that we've had that. I can confidently tell you we haven't had that in the past. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then it tells you how you would generate, so they'll have 4 minimum, and it tells you how you generate an additional one based on your school size, from 900 to 1299, then also 1300 as well. This identifies how you generate clerical, school counselors, ESE staff, support staff, custodial staff, and food and nutrition services as well. And it really allows us to be calculated about how you generate personnel and to be very guarded about the dollars that we spend intentionally for the needs of our students. If you go to the next page.
I just want to comment.
Go ahead.
I really appreciated this spreadsheet. I
Thank
felt like
you.
it was very informative and helped us to see the big picture for the allocation package. We haven't had something like that before.
Thank you,
I found
ma'am.
it very useful.
And I tell you, this has been 2 weeks of really trial and error. I will tell you that the plan I bring to you today is probably revision 7, 8, 9, 10. And Dr. Legecko's staff, my entire staff have worked tremendously hard. Dave Brodsky, tremendously hard to get this right. And I will tell you, we started off with, and I'm going to be very honest with you, of cutting around with the model of generating, I say this openly, 140 positions. 140 positions that really were not generated, they're not funded. And after a number of series of meetings with staff, meetings with district staff, school-based leaders, coaches, and to go back and allow them to present a plan, massage it, anchor it, go back and build your master schedule, tell me what you can do, what you cannot do, principals defending their spots in their schools and what they actually need to make sure we have the right opportunities for kids. We've come up with what you have today. And I will say that Ms. Paiva was also involved in a meeting last week, and she brought great value to it because she has historical knowledge me and my staff may not have. And I say that because the majority of staff is new. And she was able to pinpoint where positions may need to be added and what we could do, could not do, and those types of things. So I think the beauty of collaboration and hard work, so thank you. Elementary adjustments and changes for the allocation plan, as I said, is based on teacher allocations, based on class size. Same thing with which is 18 for K3 and 22 for 4-6. ESC is class size between 8 and 10 per class. I will tell you that we've had classes in ESC that's been between 5, 6, 4. You know, it's you can't do it financially. So this puts us back in a range that we can really do it comfortably. All services will be continued to implement. We had in elementary, we say that literacy is the foundation of learning, but we had 7 schools that did not have media. And I think that's a great concern. I know that we've had 450,000 books checked out right now in elementary, but I think that we could go deeper in these 7 schools if we had a media specialist, and this plan allows us to do so. And looking at the resource requirements, we are committing to developing the whole child. And the way you do that is provide arts, music, PE, media in every one of our schools. We had 2 schools that didn't have music. We had 9 schools that did not have art. And then there's ways you can generate additional resources so that we can ultimately provide, through bargaining, common planning, that can really help us with job-embedded professional development. So we know that some schools had a technology offering, and most of the schools are Title I, so we're going to allow them, if they want to use Title I dollars, to bring that technology science person back. But we want to make sure that every school has the art, music, PE, media, and elementary. The next one is go ahead, sure. Stop me anytime.
So on media specialists,
Yep.
the 7 schools that did not have a media specialist, who was serving as their librarian?
Yeah, I believe it's their media tech.
A media tech?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So they were having a media tech internally that was doing the day-to-day operations and pretty much checking out, but zero
But there's not a
lessons
media
about
program.
research. Yes, ma'am.
On the technology side, given that, excuse me, that the state with FSA is not going away from technology, and I'm especially concerned with our need to expose young kids to keyboarding skills and things like that, so that when they get to be taking the test,
Sure.
they're not just learning how to keyboard. What is the plan there?
Yeah, I believe we can embed that into our curriculum and have times where kids have true interaction. We're going to go to a lot of blended learning next year, and I say that a lot. We're going to, the proposal will be that we will bring to you is we have some schools already doing iReady, and that's only Title I schools, and they get a lot of interaction with iReady through keyboarding skills, interaction, responding to short and extended responses, questions, those types of things. So we want to go that at scale from in reading from K to 3, and also mathematics from K to 8. And then we have some of our schools using a Tree 3000, which is also literacy based, and we want to take that from grades 4 all the way up to 10 or 12? 10 to 10. I try to get 2 more grade levels in there, but can't afford it. To 10, and I think that allows us for immediate interaction. But I believe that we can take some keyboarding skills and incorporate it into our curriculum guides and maps for 17, 18, where they have additional exposures.
And that Achieve 3000 is separate from Performance and Growth?
Yes, ma'am. It's a great way for differentiated instruction. It allows us teachers to have small groups based on data sets. It allows kids to do a diagnostic, and it meets them where they are academically. And it has a scaffold approach to get them to be on grade level and beyond. Has stretch articles for kids who are at grade level to go
Is that
beyond.
that program where like on Monday they read an article on their level and then on Tuesday they read a stretch article? Is that
Yeah,
that
it
one?
could. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, it shows some great correlations with being able to be a predictor for kids to be successful in FSA data, and I read it. Yes, ma'am. So the next term goes to the media techs. So this is where I will need your guidance. And I said in the last school board meeting, my job is to bring you a strategy to think differently. I have a hard time having two people in our media centers. And I say that because this is our part where I have removed media techs in elementary school. This change and then changed them to a classroom assistant. I believe a classroom assistant can do so much more. Not to disrespect media techs, they work hard and they do great work. But I believe that having a classroom assistant allows us to have small group instruction and help kids from a remediation and skill level. And not only to do a push-in, pull-in model within classrooms, it also can help within the media center as well, as their job descriptions allows them to do so. Now, I put on here where they were financially. It is definitely a difference in reference to hourly rate, depending on where they are. And but this allows us to put more individuals hands on deck working with kids for our core content with literacy, math, social studies, and science. And it saves $133,000. I didn't do this for the savings. I just wanted to put that on there. I did it because I believe that I can get more from a classroom assistant to work with kids in small group. When looking at it, I'm open any way. I mean, when I ran the data last night, Miss Karen Robinson's been working me the last 2 days. We have had 450,000 textbooks checked out in elementary, which I think is awesome. So she gave me an original number of 8 million. And for the school year, and I said, there's no way we did 8 million books this year. But that is ever since we've had Destiny. So, we have two options here. We can leave the media tech at schools and let them continue to work as media specialists, work with kids and check out books and do so many things they do. Or we can convert them to classroom assistants.
How many are there?
32.
And I didn't see 32 ads of classroom assistants, so that would be it. They would have to move schools, right?
Hey, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Looking at the savings, and it's not a lot of savings. It's savings. It's not a lot of savings. So, but I just wanted to put that on there for you to see. So, this is me thinking differently. How can I leverage results and get assistance for teachers in the classrooms? But I'm also empathetic to, any rate of pay is an impact. And I'm not, I'm not trying to be that guy in that system, but I'm just trying to put systems and structures in place to serve our students at scale.
Let me ask you something. I think when we were talking on the phone, I asked you this. You said that there wouldn't be a change in salary from a media
A media specialist, yes, ma'am. So a media specialist.
High school, if they were moved to an elementary school,
Yes,
there
ma'am.
wouldn't be a
Wouldn't miss a beat. Wouldn't miss a beat. They just get, they're on the salary scale, do they just inherit, different learner, different skill set. But,
Same with a teacher, if a teacher moves
Yes,
from
ma'am.
elementary
Yes,
to
ma'am.
junior high, they don't get a
So,
tuition pay.
And let me ask you this, would there be any flexibility with the principal there if at their particular high school, I'm thinking about the high school, because
Yes,
that's the
ma'am.
ones we've been getting phone
yeah,
calls
if,
about, and emails, and texts. If at a high school, a principal felt because of whatever, the IB program or whatever they had to have
Right.
at that school, that it was really necessary for that school to have two media specialists, and they were willing to cut another allocation for
Yeah.
another teacher of some sort, would they have the flexibility to do that?
Yes, ma'am. Jumping to high school, I would say that I would give them the flexibility as long as they continue to protect their pathways for CTE. And the second thing, be able to meet class size. If they can do those two things and they have additional allocation, I have no problem providing that. They can use their allocation that they generate in order to successfully have that offering. The issue, and I'll, I don't mean to get into high school, but to answer your question, we've had 29,000 books checked out to date. Now, some of those are novel books, so we understand it, but that's a luxury instead of an actual need in their school system to have two. I really don't know of anyone, I've ever been to a school, and I've traveled the nation to schools to see best practices that have had two.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, can I add a comment to that? I
Yeah.
think one of the concerns from a teacher point of view is that that second media specialist is also mostly there for us, because we used to have a tech person at each high school, then that went away, and now they rotate with zones, but that means with all the enhanced technology in our classrooms, one of our media specialists, he spends half of his day helping us in our classroom, because they were told a year or two, maybe 3 years ago, we want you to go to these trainings and we want you to be the tech
Yeah.
site person at that school. I
Sure.
can't even load test prep software
Yeah.
on my own computer, he has to do it. So I think the concern too is not just a loss for kids, but are we gonna get more tech support if that person is
Yep.
taken away? Because
Yeah.
now there's no one on site.
And actually, the role and responsibility of a media specialist shouldn't be driving the tech world and being a problem solver and uploading information, so that's misuse of the, that's Dave asked to do that, so.
Yeah, it was just
yeah,
an additional
yeah, no, I agree.
responsibility lumped
Yep.
on them, but now
Yep.
we're so
Yeah,
used to
we
it.
should, we should have, if we need to add like, an individual to go and service schools at scale, which I know we have field techs, we could do that. I'm not sure if do we have a supplement for a technology lead at schools, Mr. Brodsky?
I don't believe so.
We probably need to look into that.
That would even be
We
just.
need to
so
have
many little
someone on
things go
staff
wrong.
that has the ability and skill set to problem solve and do so technology. So sorry.
Get somebody like that at each school.
We used to, but then they ended up zoning, but
But now they travel, right?
yeah, they
Yes,
travel,
yes,
so, and some things can obviously wait, but you know, if you've got
Yeah.
my
you
LCD
need
projection
somebody
won't
to
work,
do
my
it.
printer, you know, some things need to be kind of fixed that day.
Criteria.
So all this to say, go back to elementary media techs. You know, this is my recommendation, but I put it to you to give me guidance of, coming in today, I was full-fledged, I was ready for a classroom assistant. After looking at 450,000 books being checked out, but any teacher can be trained to use Destiny, it's only a scan. And I know they do more than that.
I will just say, I volunteered in elementary and been in the media center, and when you've got 22 kids, and sometimes for the resources, there are more than 22 because it's combined classes, and they're loud, and they're
Right.
bouncing off the walls even though it's a library, there's no whispering. And oftentimes what you would see is the media tech checking out books at the desk, and the media specialist actually
Working with
having a
kids.
conversation
Yeah,
with
working with
kids
kids.
about
Yeah.
choosing the right kind of
Yeah.
book, and so
Yeah,
I don't think that they're just sitting around.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was just trying to paint a picture of having a classroom assistant that may can go in and assist in that process. Because any teacher can help with that process, and then have someone that has availability to branch out of the media and go push in and do some small group intervention work with kids.
Do you
So,
think that our principals would be open to using their classroom assistants in that way? Because
it should be.
typically what the classroom assistants do is when the teacher is in planning, they're in planning with the teacher.
Yeah, they should be playing with the teacher. We're saying if they go to that media center, or that resource time, that individual can transition as well. So we can look at it. We got three options. We can leave media techs as they are. We can transfer them to classroom assistants, or we can let the school decide what their actual need is in their school, in the elementary level.
I'm
But-
a proponent for local control, that's just my personal opinion.
And
Right.
do you mind if I
Go
add
ahead, Ms.
something?
Cora.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
under the generic classroom assistant, if we're looking at their job description, the only thing they could do that matches what their description is actually go in there and work with children in a small group. The media tech assistant does a lot of what you were talking about, go to the room and troubleshoot, because I remember sending them to those meetings as well. I don't think they get any kind of supplement, but you had a little team at your school. So it is, the media tech is a B21. The generic classroom assistant is an A12. So that's a considerable cut in pay. 9, and I'm just here advocating for my people, 9 of these media techs out of the 32 have been with us prior to 2000. And so when you look at who is eligible, because to be a media tech, that's clerical. So you're going to take the primary skills test, you're going to take the Windows test. To be a classroom assistant, you have to be highly qualified, which means you have to have 60+ hours at college, an AA or a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited college. So when I look at these, our media techs, only 15 of the 32 would even qualify to be a classroom assistant. They could also go and take the parapro. So some of them are qualified based on degree, some of them are qualified based on the parapro.
Ms. Corey, did you say that you have to be more qualified to be a classroom assistant
that's
and
true.
you make less money?
That's true.
That's
accurate.
That makes no sense.
That's accurate. That's accurate. I mean, as
I
you said,
think you
the
need to go back
band,
and think about this.
yeah, the band is 23,
Right.
is $23 for media tech versus 19 in the class.
Well, that particular job description too
Yeah.
is so generic, that classroom assistant. I mean, it says assist with, small groups, but then the rest of it is monitoring, doing bulletin boards.
But that's not a
that
Clay
kind of stuff.
County establishment. That we don't set that job, I mean, that qualification, do we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we need to fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to fix that.
Well, along with the job
I
descriptions,
could
that's,
actually increase the classroom assistant.
You're thinking.
So is this something we're gonna have ready for the board meeting? It sounds like there's still a lot of dialogue happening.
I'm there. I mean, I'm to a point where, my recommendation stands unless you think, as a board, think I should reconsider. I can give you the numbers like Ms. Corey just talked about, who it impacts and what the financial impact would be, but I believe that now that we own the job description and the criteria, that I believe that we can take care of all that in reference to making sure that people are compensated for the transition of jobs and that they would meet the criterion. If we can control that, then it may be almost, I don't want to say cost neutral because you may have some people in different filing, but we can build a plan so you can see it before it goes to the board. And the last one is just how we standardize how you get administration, how you generate administrators in your schools. And one thing we did do with this, we had a number of schools with 0.5 that had a 0.5 administrator and a 0.5 teacher or behavior interventionist. I don't even know how you do that. I'm sorry.
You teach and you come out and you.
I know you're administrator, so how are you? You're treated. Listen, not to be disrespectful, but you're treated as a teacher. You're my supervisor one minute, but then you're my peer the next minute. I think that's so unfair to teachers. I think it's so unfair to the administrator. So we removed any 0.5s and we added that person to be a whole. So I think that's only fair to the candidate. It's only fair for the employee, and it's only fair for the structure about how they help problem solve and evaluate, work side by side to be instructional coach for teachers.
But we're keeping them as 11 months.
Yes, ma'am. It's 11-month AP. All right, junior high schools. Junior high school allocation is somewhat the same structure, and nothing majorly here. If we go to this, it's the same allocation format, or different based on school, because junior high school is a little different, but based on class size as well. Here, if you go to the second page, it gives you a little chart for the major changes. The allocation is 6-8 is one per it should say 22. And ESE allocation ranges, their classrooms was ranged between 10 and 12 students here. If we look at media techs, they were removed as well, same offerings, and administration was standardized as well. We didn't have any 0.5 in junior highs, and so it just identifies how you generate a VP, AP, or another personnel. I will tell you that in the future, we are going to phase out vice principals because state statute says an assistant principal can be promoted to be a principal. So there's no reason to have 2 tiers. That will help. I mean, it's not a lot of money financially, but an assistant principal is assistant principal. Everyone should be on the same playing field in reference to identifying if they're an instructional leader, talent manager, and climate and culture builder. So, we'll let those individuals who are vice principals continue to stay until and we'll phase it out when everybody would just be assistant principals. And that helps our structure as well.
Who's number 2 in command when the principal's done?
They'll identify a designee. It's no different than the way I treat my structure here. I think everyone is
I don't know who's second in command down here.
Yeah, everybody is second command. They work as hard as I do. They're side by side me. So it's like when I identify a designee when I'm out. I identify Mr. McCauley one day. It may be Dr. Stallman one day. Maybe Mr. Merrill for the next couple of days. I don't know.
I have a question about the switchover. Just like you said, if a high school principal can justify keeping a second media specialist instead of a teacher allocation, could they also, school by school, justify keeping some of the media techs instead of moving into classroom assistants? Or is
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that freedom. I think you get more from a classroom assistant to work with kids. And I think ultimately we got to provide more interventions for how we're working with kids in our classrooms to help teachers. But if it gets to a point where, you know, they can defend and support, and I have their data, and I have their analytical academic data versus their data that they're using in the media, I think they'll have a hard time justifying it. But at the
how
end of
many
the
are
day,
there at the junior highs right now?
it's only like six. It's only like six.
Is that part of the
Yeah,
32 or is that a separate?
Yeah, it's part.
Okay.
Part of it. That's kind of all for junior high. I would tell you that high school is, you know, same allocation process that we use for all of them. If you go to the second page, it demonstrates the major changes to our plan, which basic allocation is based on 25. We were having classrooms of 13, 14, 16, 18, 19, and we can't afford that. There's no way. We would love to have that luxury, but we just cannot.
Can I ask a question on
Yep.
that then? I was under the understanding that in some of the cases where we had those situations, it was
Right.
because the teacher chose to teach a small, so for instance, if you had a AP calculus and regular
Right.
calculus,
Yep.
that the teacher,
Yep.
I think there was an example at Ridgeview, we were brought a few years ago, that the teacher chose not to have to teach to two segments in the same classroom.
Yeah, stacking classrooms.
Right,
I agree
but-
with that.
So therefore they had one class that was 30 students and
Sure.
one class that was 15 students because they had chosen
To
to
select
have it
that.
that way.
Yes, ma'am. At the AP level and the upper level, it may be that way, but we're talking about standard classrooms. I walk in intensive reading classes that have 9, 10, 12, 13, an ELA class that has 16, 17, a math class, algebra 1 class that only has 17 kids, and it's because the wall-to-wall, just you had to purchase so many teachers to protect the cohort. And listen, if we had the fund to do so, I would love it, because the lower the class sizes, we know we can move instruction. We haven't been successful because we've been stagnant in mathematics at 64% the last 2 years, and we've decreased from 58 to 56% as it relates to literacy. This plan allows us to really, I'm not saying push to 25, but allows us to set the class size based on what they actually generate within our schools. Allocation stays the same as junior high and high school from 10 to 12 in any ESE class based on allocation, based on need. It could go possibly potentially lower depending on students' needs and their disability. Media specialists here get grants, and every school generates one. We have 6 schools that have 2 media specialists. We have 7 elementary schools that do not have media specialists. So these allocations will be placed into elementary. Then we have to add one in order to make it whole, where every school in Clay County has a media specialist at their site. I think that's beautiful, and that's in the message to the community that we are agreeing that literacy is the foundation and should be in every school. As I said earlier, having 2 media specialists is not to say that they don't do hard work, because everyone in this organization works hard. I believe that, and I've seen that with my own eyes as I walk in schools. But it's a luxury to have 2. So right now, if we would ask for voluntarily surplus for individuals who would like to transition to elementary in the 6 slots, and then we would get to a part where we would work with schools for them to defend if they can meet class size and protect CTE, if they would hire it. I'll be honest with you, most of them I've already talked to, they said they would not. They would use that allocation in different places. So they said they love it, and the person works hard, but the number I've talked to said they understand that it's not a necessity for them to function in their school.
I'll tell you, I volunteered in Fleming Island High's Media Center for about 4 years, a year after my kids all graduated.
Yes, ma'am.
And every Wednesday. And they work, and they're
Oh,
busy.
yeah.
And they actually need the volunteers just to check out books and computers, because there's a tower full of
Yes, ma'am.
computers that kids can check out when they come in, or at least it used to be that way. But they are constantly either teaching a class or putting reference material together. They're
Yes, ma'am.
constantly doing stuff. it's not like they're sitting around.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
And I think, you know, our high schools are big, there's a lot of students that go through. And like Ridgeview has the IB program, Fleming Island has an ACE program, but then you take the ESE kids. You know, and I had a son who was an ESE kid, and he spent a lot of time in there, and they arranged to get books on tape for him.
Right.
And so he needed help always. I mean, it was, you know, there's a lot that goes on that I'm not happy with that part of this
Yeah.
whole thing. I already shared that with you,
Yes, ma'am.
but I think that's something we need to really look at. And while I am speaking, let me just ask a question. I know that we had requested a workshop back in December for allocations and the other one we already had, assessments, the local assessments. And we had just the one, and this was postponed. Did anybody want to go forward with the workshop, or are you comfortable just having it on the agenda and taking action with it at March 2nd?
Well, this kind of feels like the workshop to me.
I know, but we're not really open to the public, where the public is here listening, and it's great conversation we're having, but I feel that this is conversation we should be having with all our stakeholders,
Yeah.
and they're all working today.
Yeah.
They're not here, and I guarantee you our media specialists would like to be heard.
Sure.
You know, and I feel that, and we're gonna hear from them, because we've already started to get emails, and you know, they're not the only cuts in here, there's others too, so, and I know Ms. Piva would like to be here. I mean, there's a lot of stakeholders that this affects, so I don't know how you feel about it, but I personally, and I shared this with you, would have preferred to have the workshop first, have this conversation at the workshop, and then move forward from there. So I'm putting it up to the board. Do you want to move forward with the workshop, or do you want to just go forward with this?
Well, it kind of feels like the horse is out of the barn.
Well, that's fine, but we
But
can still
I
have a
understand your
workshop.
point. I understand your point. I think that, especially given that, because the agenda
We don't have to
isn't
take
published,
action on it.
no one has actually read all of this except for us. I don't know what that does to put it off a month. I don't know what that does.
Well, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be putting it off a month. We can call a special meeting in the next 2 weeks, and then we could have a workshop followed by a special meeting, because I know Mr. Brodsky's gonna say this has to come to us in March. Now, let's remember, how many years has it come to us in April and May? But I understand what you're saying.
There's contractual language about reappointing people because we post jobs April 15th. So the reappointment process would then be the first week of April to make that happen. That reappointment process in HR does take a number of days to reappoint people. So the procedure would be, we send the reappointment sheets to principals to make those decisions. Those decisions come back, then we hand key, yes, hand key every employee in the district to generate that reappointment sheet in April that has to be done in April.
Is this the last
So
year
the-
you'll have to hand?
You may have to sit down and actually help. We may have to get Mr. Brodsky a computer to help
I
with
am,
that.
I am hoping that this will be the last year that, you know, hopefully the new ERP system will do that. But there's time processes there and contractual language which have kind of dictated this.
Well, this was.
So let me ask a question. So we're 2 weeks out from the board meeting because today's workshop is earlier than normal.
Right.
Is there a way that we could combine them? Is there a way that we could maybe have an hour workshop at 5 o'clock on March 2nd, and then at 6 o'clock have our regular board meeting? So have the workshop, have the opportunity for the public to come, speak,
We'd have to move it up earlier
ask
than that.
questions.
Because I don't think we could cover this in an hour, not the way you talk. We'd have to go longer. And let's remember, our student showcase starts at 5:30.
And
So we
I
have
was
to
just
form
trying
this
to, I was just trying to
Right.
find a way to not have additional meeting. I gotta tell you, a day like today when I have to drive 45 minutes here for this workshop, 45 minutes back home, and then I gotta be back in Fleming Island for disciplines at 3:30, and I have a family. I mean, it's not, so there's a lot of extra meetings, and to add an additional meeting, and I wanna hear the public, I do.
I know you do.
I felt, in fact, I whispered to Ms. Bush, I wish this had been out there on
This
the
should have
agenda where people could have
Mhm.
commented and asked questions.
Well, the
and-
agenda's not published yet, that's why, and it won't be till
That's my point,
Thursday.
yeah,
Right.
that's my point.
But I just feel strongly that, you know, we asked for a workshop, and we wanted it, and because we're so pleased with the way you do everything. You know, you're so transparent and there's so much communication. And to me, moving forward with the assessment workshop was great. You know, even the GPS stuff, I mean, there's so much more communication going on than ever before. And this is a crucial part of everything
Sure.
we do.
It is.
And I don't want it to be snuck in and
Yeah.
pushed under.
Yeah.
And you're discussing with us, and now March 2nd, it's just gonna be any discussion, there won't be any, boom, we're done. And people are sitting there thinking, what happened to my job?
Sure.
You know, and I just feel like we're not including everybody that needs to be included.
So from my side, I took it as if you wanted an actual budget workshop, not an allocation workshop.
We asked for an
And-
allocation workshop.
I requested the budget workshop.
That's separate.
Yeah.
That's a completely separate thing.
Absolutely, I agree. So I thought that we pushed that to go into April. So, with Dr. McGecko, is that correct?
Right, we agreed on
We
that.
agreed on an April budget workshop.
That's what my
But
understanding
that
was.
had nothing to do with allocations.
I thought it was just budget, so, I mean.
They're two
it's-
completely separate.
From my side, the only reason I put this in this discussion and bring it is because staff told me historically that this has been going in March. Listen, I'm open to do whatever everyone needs me to do. My plan is for us to generate money that gives money to schools that they generate. So, but I get it, it's people. I think we've done a lot of legwork in the last 2 weeks. I'm open to hearing the public or whomever else, and my job is to present a plan that's gonna put us in a better situation financially, and to be truly to give support to schools at what they actually generate.
Just
So-
to be clear, I didn't request an allocation workshop. My request was a budget workshop. So,
Back in
what you're referring to
December,
is something
I'm
different.
referencing
Something
December,
separate.
when we as a board all discussed.
No, I'm not
We'd
saying
like
we
to have-
didn't. I just wanted clarity with what
We
I
all
requested.
discussed wanting assessments and an allocation workshop.
I think in January too, Mrs. Steiner had talked about the overall plan, wanting to see the big
Right.
picture, and we were given those org charts,
Yep.
but we've never had a
Sure.
Discussion.
opportunity
Yeah.
to have a conversation.
That's budget.
And so I think for me, it is the bigger picture. What are, kind of where are we
Yeah.
going, your vision, and you've shared a lot of your vision, but kind of where are we going overall would be valuable to have, the input.
And including the district, I'm sorry, the district allocations too. If we're gonna do a workshop, let's have everything there and see it all at once and have all those questions. Not just
So,
the school base, but the district
I
also.
would also say that the district admin will not go to that. I won't be ready with the district admin. I could be ready with district instructional staff and support staff, but I won't be ready for district admin. I'm trying, cause it's probably gonna be April, I'll be
And you have
ready.
it by mid-March, and we could push this back to mid-March.
The issue is me being, we're trying to, staff is new, so we're really trying to identify, ability, skill sets, those types of things before we make decisions on admin.
Can I say something, because for y'all who don't know, I stated when I came in here this morning, I have to leave at 20 minutes to 12 today.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know you said you had 2 or 3 things you wanted to talk about.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting a knot in my stomach just thinking, because this puts me in a bind. By having these meetings on Tuesday morning, Ms. Carrington and I have a obligation at noon every Tuesday, every week. So we either need to meet earlier, talk faster, but I need to be out of here at 20 to 12 on Tuesday. And
Yes,
we're
ma'am.
not anywhere near
Yes, ma'am.
finished.
I'm open to meet anytime, so
But
this was
either
for,
change the
I don't
day or
believe that.
change the time,
I'm open
please.
to meet whenever y'all tell me you're ready to meet, I'm ready to meet. You just tell me when, I'll be there.
Okay, now, getting back to this thing, I agree with Ms. Condon, and one way, the horse is out of the barn on this, but I think that because, I think you read in the newspaper the words transparency and so
Yeah,
forth.
chicken wings, something else.
I'm trying to get my head around this.
Yes, ma'am.
I think probably in the best interest of all of us, that,
I was just gonna, I'm sorry.
in the best interest of all of us, we probably need to have a workshop to just kind of go over this, even if it's almost repeating everything
Yeah,
that's
it
been
will be.
said today,
That's fine.
but it would be in the public's eye.
fine.
And then if you wanted to, set up a respectable amount of time for that, because you can see how long this is taking. And then you could have a special meeting to take action.
Right.
But at least then, not only our employees, but the public would have input. That's where we will get in trouble, is we try to slam this through real quick. From past experience, I'm saying, let's put it out there. At least they'll have a chance to get buy-in or see what the rationale is behind it. And
I have no problem.
that probably would serve us best. But I think if you could find a day to do a workshop and then just close the workshop and have your special meeting, you could accomplish, and then it wouldn't put Mr. Brodsky
Right.
into,
Can we do it the same night as
hospital.
excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's-
I mean,
no, that's good. I'm good.
All right, through the chair, can we do it the same night that Ms. Condon proposed before the board meeting?
what, night?
I just suggested March
I-
2nd, I mean, that's 2 weeks from now, so it's, or a week and a half,
Or, I
It's a
mean,
week.
you may
Yeah.
think it's
A week from Thursday.
9 days.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And
Ms.
maybe,
Condon,
That'd
I'm
be a
sorry.
week from
Ms. Gilhousen, Ms. Gilhousen, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just thinking, how much notice do we need for a workshop? What's required? Dan's not in.
24, 48
2 days for a workshop, so could we not have a workshop this week and then the board meeting next week and not have to worry about delaying this process?
I gotta tell you, and I will not speak for her, and I have not talked
Yeah,
to
we
her.
can't do this without Ms.
No,
Foley.
But I
right.
think Ms.
Ms.
Foley
Foley
is
is
gonna
on
have a
26.
huge, she's gonna have a list of
We should
questions
not-
a mile long.
we should not
not
do this
make
while
it
she's
big.
there.
I'm sorry, I forgot she was active. What if we did it the week of the board meeting? Do you guys, you guys are referencing the discussion, the beefy discussion that is going to accompany this issue, and I share your concerns about it spilling over into our regular meeting time.
Yeah, that's my concern is that,
But again, I want to be respectful of Mr. Brodsky and his department, so if we can have the workshop just on a separate day before the board meeting, I think we could.
according to the contract, Mr. Brodsky, what's the date that you have to have reappointments done by?
They would have to be done prior to April 15th when we post jobs,
Okay.
which means that reappointment would occur the first week of April theoretically. But then you push that back and you push into spring break for a week, and looking at the calendar, Ms. Gilhousen's proposal would be the best one, in my opinion, to
What-
accomplish both of those
What would be the
things.
latest day that we could have this workshop that would still accommodate what you need to do? March 5th, March 8th?
What do you think, Ms.
The
Corey?
latest date, like we couldn't have the workshop maybe next week?
Before the board meeting?
Tuesday,
yeah.
maybe Tuesday afternoon? I
But
don't know,
the
when's
problem-
Ms. Bola gonna be
Well,
back?
she comes
The
back on the
26th.
26th, but the
And we
problem
need to-
is the 28th is the history fair.
Right. So the room is used, plus
Well, we could have it somewhere else other than the TTC building.
We should.
I
there
don't
for
think we
awards.
should,
We
for
should be there
people,
for
for the public to come
yeah, the
and,
teachers,
And Wednesday's
media,
Ash Wednesday.
they're all gonna be there. And then Thursday's the meeting, Friday is a SEDNet thing,
Monday night,
This is
What about
27th?
Monday night,
Monday the
27th?
6th.
Monday the 27th.
The 27th?
That works for me.
Oh, the news is the Republican.
Works for
That
me.
would be good.
I don't mind missing that.
27th is Monday.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna want to kill me when we get out.
That's fine.
This is important.
It allows me to tell, it allows me to tell a
Are
story.
you free on the 27th?
The 26th?
Well, 26th
Yeah,
is Sunday.
that's what I said.
27th.
27th.
Then Ms. Bola's supposed to be back on the 26th.
I've not given her much time
She'll
to
be well
review, but
rested,
she'll
well,
be.
she'll be well rested.
In my opinion, we've got
I think-
two feasible options here. We can do it on the 27th, or we could do it on the 2nd before the board meeting, and I think we need to narrow our options.
I don't think the board
here.
meeting's a good idea, because I'm just afraid that we won't be finished in
Well,
time.
but Ms. Condon has a hardship for.
I prefer the 27th.
You do prefer?
Because it, on
Can
the
you do
2nd
that?
at 4:15, I plan to be at Orange Park Junior High School until
Ooh.
I have to be at.
What time the 27th?
I can do any time on Monday.
Well, let's make sure we do it after everybody gets off
Mm.
work for the day, so 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we get an evening one.
The point is to have participation from
We don't
people
want to
whose
schedule
jobs
at
will
10
be
in the
affected.
morning when people
Right.
can't be.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be on that 27th is fine. I'll get to it.
You sure?
Have you had a conflict?
Sorry, I'm good. It's important.
And then
But I
Monday.
mean, what time's your conflict?
I gotta be in Gainesville at 6:30, so this is important. My wife will be a team player.
Oh, you gotta go.
Well, what about the following Monday, the 6th, March 6th, the day after, and then we can have the workshop followed by a special meeting, take action at that special meeting,
I'm
which
not
could take all of
available on
15
March
minutes.
6th, but y'all can do it without me.
I can do the 27th if that's fine.
March 7th.
I can do the 7th.
Anybody else have anything on March 7th?
When are we having it after the board meeting?
He's not available
Oh.
on Monday and every other
Well, he's
night for
available.
Sunday.
Natalie can
He's
go.
missing.
March 7th
He's
is good
good
for
for
me. You wanna do it the night of the board meeting, is that what you just said?
I
No,
just
I
said.
absolutely don't want to.
I don't care when we have it, I just leave.
I was asking him to the
Go ahead,
next
Mr.
week.
Sutter, go ahead. I got
I'm
it.
flexible, y'all just said it and I'll be
I'm
there.
available March 7th, are you available March 7th?
Well,
having time to make your
You available March 7th? I'm available. Is
I-
that going to work for you, Mr. Ross?
I'm good.
March 7th? And if we go ahead, if we schedule a workshop and
And then
then
a special
special
meeting, we
meeting
take
right after it,
action,
we could take action
then we
on
should
that.
be
What
done.
time are you gonna do the workshop?
Delays in
5
1,
o'clock?
2, 3 days. Can we do that?
Well, let's see if the date works with him
For
first.
the sun guard training, and then this,
Mr. Brodsky, if this puts you in a pinch, the 27th, I can make it happen. He just needs to let me know. But he
They
can
have
do it.
sun guard training and then spring break.
Oh, there.
About, about the 6th, is there a conflict on
No,
the
I think
6th?
Ms. Conley can't do the 6th.
So we,
He's
okay.
good to push it.
The week after that is SunGuard training, the ERP conversion. All of HR is in training
Okay,
that week.
I can do the 27th.
Okay, let's leave the 27th, if you're sure.
I can do the
Sorry, boss.
27th. It's okay.
What time?
5 o'clock? Is everybody good with 5 o'clock?
That is good. And is the TTC available?
I'm looking right now.
Okay.
Could become available.
I would think we might have some.
I think we may have some pull.
Somebody might know somebody,
All
that
right.
knows somebody.
Is
I have to
the
call her.
history fair on the 28th?
Yes.
They have the room booked from 2 to 7 for setup.
On the 27th?
Can
Set up the
we
second.
do it afterwards and we'll help, and we'll staff will stay and help? I'll stay and help.
I'll
Staff
help,
won't.
yeah. Just,
Let
let's,
staff go home.
let's slide them till afterwards.
Or they could set up until we need to start. I don't mind having our history decorations early.
Yeah, I mean,
But
anything
they,
in the
they
back.
move all the tables out of the way though, so people won't be able to sit and see us. They angle it, they set it all up.
and see, this is the way.
I think people will.
They could have from 2 till 5.
What about if we can
Yeah.
still leave a little
So I was thinking 2 to 5, so we can do 5 to 7.
What about moving it to 4 o'clock?
Give them,
Because
I would say we don't give them until
what about 4 o'clock?
Great, I'll talk fast.
All right, let's make it 4 o'clock, that works with your kids.
And that way we won't be up, we were all half the night.
Mr. Brodsky, 4 o'clock, does that work with you on the 27th?
Yes, anytime that you guys
All right.
want, that'll work.
So we'll set a meeting for 4 o'clock on the 27th, you better go.
Is your high school group able to
This,
make that?
this is past President's Day.
She's being
Rotary. If it was
recognized
just a regular
today.
Rotary meeting, but I worked hard that year, and I want to be up there with past Presidents.
Wait, I mean,
And there are 3 things you wanted to talk about?
Call her, just
yeah, I'll
call
call
her.
you.
And we're doing a workshop followed by a special meeting.
Yeah, so advertise a workshop at 4, and should we advertise the special meeting at 5:30? Is an hour and a half enough time? Does it have to be a time
Maybe you can just
specific?
say immediately following.
Yeah.
Okay, that's even better.
That'd be better.
Is that legal?
And I want everybody at this table to know that the intent wasn't to push this
We know
through.
that.
I want everybody to know that.
We know that, we're gonna talk bad about you when we leave.
I'm just parking lot talk.
So was the intent of the special meeting to vote on the allocation package?
Yes, so we'll have the
Okay, so-
workshop, and then we'll take action on it.
What do we need to
So
do?
we'll
You
take
just do it
that
at
off.
the
You
board.
can do it on Thursday.
You can do it at the board. The only issue might be if the board's direction is to take a different action than the original package.
Then you can do it, I can change. So if you tell me, hey, you know, Addison, I think that you ought to reconsider the media tech, I'm just giving an example, media tech.
Bye, y'all.
Then I'd have a day or so to complete that, and be ready for the board.
Otherwise, Ms. Carrick, she would have to come up with a motion that said something like, I want this, but not this, or,
Right.
and it gets a little funky.
Yes,
Okay.
listen, but
So just
I'll be
just a
there.
workshop.
So just.
It's just a
As it is
workshop.
before the general meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it would be reflected at the Thursday meeting.
Yes.
All right, very good.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
Thank you, and thank you,
yes, ma'am.
appreciate that.
No worries. All right, I think that was,
Everything else looks
Just
great.
to clarify, February 27th, 4 o'clock.
yes, ma'am.
And we have disciplines today at 3:30. We never did
Oh.
get the packet on the disciplines.
Everybody has yours.
Sorry.
Okay.
Were you done with the agenda review so I can say a couple things or no?
Yeah, that was the last item.
Last item? All right, so, couple things. I gave you a packet that I talked about Insight Culture, and I put this, we did great things. I may not be at the hearing today. Mr. McCauley may be there for me. Mrs. Whitten's having an opportunity for her sons doing a baseball game. They want me to fill out the first pitch. So I thought it was important for me to be there to support her. For her older son that I believe that she has lost. Yes, ma'am. So, Mr. McCauley's sorry not to be there, but I believe that he will be great in my absence. And I will try to hit the mitt in the air, Mr. McCauley. So, I think that's it. I mean, there was I wanted to ask you if we can take 2 minutes for an executive session and then get you out of here, or I can wait until everybody and do it on the 27th. I can do it on the 27th.
Okay, an executive session is for collective bargaining.
Correct.
So anything you want to say has to be in the public eye unless it has to do with collective bargaining.
It's collective bargaining.
Okay, then you can't.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay, I think that's good.
All right, then we'll adjourn the agenda workshop for January.
February
21st.
February
21st.